Hearthstone Global Games is an epic country versus country tournament where teams of 4 cardslingers each clash for national pride. But in the end, the UK always wins.
Wait, everybody knows it's Germany always wins.
Aren't you Polish?
Is winning all that matters?
It's all about fun and getting along with your teammates.
That's easy when their skills are legendary.
Or in this case, you have an ace player who will never let you down.
So we're gonna see the same old archetypes then?
No, every team needs to bring all 9 classes.
So we're gonna see Hunter?
I wonder.
So let's recap. It's 4 regions, 48 countries, but
Only one winner. Get ready
for the Hearthstone
Global Games.
Hello and welcome to week 3 of the Hearthstone Global Games. My name is Falcone and today I'm joined by Mr. Neil Bond. Lorinda, what is going through your head right now?
Everything's going through my head right now. First time on the HGG set, of course, so really looking forward to seeing what we've got. A celebration of worldwide Hearthstone over the next coming weeks, and we're into week 3, so we've seen most of the teams by now and most of the players, and they've had a chance to interact with each other, so loads of things going through my mind, but most of all, I'm looking forward to seeing what all these different cultures have to offer, both like with their food and, of course, with their Hearthstone.
There is so much to watch and so much to learn with this tournament. Of course, we are 24 games in to the Hearthstone Global Games so far, and we're in Stage 1. Stage 1 is a 10-week round robin. The top 3 teams from each group is going to progress into Stage 2 after each team has played every other team within their group.
Yeah, so everybody gets 5 matches to sort out who is the best and who is the worst and who scrapes through, so there's going to be no arguments at the end about it. And then Stage 2, just skim through that quickly, they go through and they knock out some more teams. Then Stage 3, we knock out all the other teams, and then we see who wins.
Yeah, each team very, very keen to knock out the other teams, I'm sure. But we are well into Stage 1 now, and we're getting to the stage where, as you said, every team, I believe, has played at this point. Some teams have played a couple of games, and some teams are 2-0. Some teams are 0-2. And the teams that are 0-2, not mentioning any in particular except the one that we are obviously supporting back home, these teams really are in the position where they want to prove themselves now.
So a quick flick through the groups here. As you can see, Group A, just 1 game each played so far. A couple of those guys playing in a minute, Bulgaria and Indonesia.
Every single game here, super important. None of these teams, China, Indonesia, Switzerland, they don't want to be 0 wins and 2 losses. That's where it starts to get really difficult for them to climb to the top of the group.
And you see there the game record on the right-hand side for all these groups as well. That will be a tiebreak if it comes down to it, which may well do with 3rd and 4th probably going to be middle of the road. So those are important as well. Only 5 teams in this group. The bottom seems to be cut off for me. I don't know about you.
Yeah, 5 teams. I accidentally did not give the United Kingdom enough credit there. They're not 0-2. They're 0-1. Tomorrow they're going to be 1-1, I'm
Such
sure.
a pessimist, and unlike my optimistic, cheerful attitude that I always have.
The United States there with a well and truly in the lead with a 6-1 game record.
That's an incredible start. And again, Group C, just getting going. Couple of 3-0s there. Those teams already in a half-decent spot. But as you can see, still lots of forming to do in that group stage.
Group D, Slovakia, Hungary at the top with 1 win and 0 losses. And Greece looking pretty sad at the bottom there with 0 wins yet. Although a 3-6 game record, which means their tiebreaker's okay. But they're going to have a lot of work to do if they want to get out of
They
this
were
group.
one of my 2 picks for this event on Twitter before it got going. So Greece, sort it out, guys. I know you're better than this.
Hong Kong and Portugal yet to play, though. I believe they're going to be playing later on.
They'll be on there today.
Italy and Japan leading Group E here. Norway 1-1 in the middle, they're okay, and Chile not played yet.
Yeah, Finland 0-1 of course, but they're not finished yet.
No, that's right. But again, it just goes to show how important this stage of the competition is, because these guys could so easily be falling down to the bottom of the group and get themselves in a rut, and their team confidence is going to be really, really bad if they get into that position.
Yeah, Malaysia off to a good start here, and that's important for the APAC region. We'll be talking about APAC quite a lot today. We've got several teams from that region playing today, and they'll be looking to close the perceived gap between APAC and some of the other regions over the course of this event. Let's see if they can.
Group G, Singapore still yet to play. Turkey and Taiwan leading the way there. Poland right dead middle there. 1 win, 1 loss with a 4-4 game record.
And we have to be very, very nice to Poland. Hi, everybody in Poland. Hi, production, everybody. We love you. Poland's great.
Yeah.
Of course, otherwise we don't get home.
Or fed.
Or fed.
Ukraine with a 2-0 lead here in Group H. Germany and Philippines, a game that we're very much looking forward to later on today, both with 0 wins and 1 loss. So.
Yeah, I mean, this group is the fabled group of death that every sports event has to have, and this is our one. This is one tough group.
Now, I know, Neil, that you are particularly interested, or invested, I should say, in the APAC scene. It's one that not a lot of people for us back home keep as much track of. But there is a lot of APAC going on today, and you're going to have a lot to say about that.
Yeah, I really am. A lot of my early broadcasts were in the APAC region in particular, and in particular Southeast Asia, who have 3 representatives here today. And APAC don't like the fact they get put down as maybe the 4th best server, and they put a lot of effort into sorting all that out. They've done several majors so that their best players can interact with the other best players, because one of the things is the players are just as good as the other players in the world, but they get a little tiny bit sloppy at times because they're not used to being punished for their mistakes. So the more they interact on stages like this and their own majors, the more those guys will get less sloppy and show how good they are, and I'm looking forward to this.
Well, if there was ever a competition for them to show that their region is the best, the Hearthstone Global Games is the place to do it. As you can see, schedule for today is up. First game is going to be Bulgaria versus Indonesia.
Right, and then we go through the others: Singapore, Turkey, Hong Kong, Portugal. As you can see on the screen, the big one for us, I think, is Germany, Philippines. But that's not very nice on Croatia and Czech Republic, who are also powerhouse, especially Croatia looking good into Czech Republic looking good into this one.
There are a lot of exciting games coming up today. I think we're correct to highlight Germany versus Philippines. I know that Germany in particular, a team with a lot of famous pro players on it, they are definitely looking forward to showing what they've got. And that game will be even more exciting because of what I said a moment ago. Neither team has won a game yet.
Right, and the Philippines were my other choice alongside Greece. I'm so sorry, guys, for picking you. I don't like to curse teams. Anyway, here's the lineups for today. Bulgaria, Morgolad, Vestudio, EU, Golem, Pichaga, and Silent Storm representing Bulgaria.
And Nexok, 40, Vertigo, Rezdan, and Liga Game Joth. I'm totally butchered that. I apologize to everyone back home.
But that's okay, because he is the guy who ruined the feedback form by having won everything in everything ever.
Right. Not one to underestimate them.
Yeah, exactly. He is a player who has played a lot of card games and other stuff in his experienced life, by the look of things.
I'm very excited to get this one underway. I have had an opportunity to have a chat with a few of the players. I spoke to Nexo. Oh, well, first, hold on. Let's just admire Bulgaria for a moment.
Yeah, Bulgaria and Indonesia both looking absolutely fantastic.
I will hold that thought for a moment. The mountains, that skyline, great city. It always makes me so jealous when we look at this type of thing, because we don't have anything like this back home, as Raven and Sotel are
exactly,
often
I'm glad
about.
to be doing this virtual world tour.
Tell me a little bit about Indonesia, Neil. You're well-travelled, right?
Yeah, I've been everywhere in the world. I know pretty much everything there is to know about geography. And Indonesia, 13,000 islands make up the country, and apparently it has 167 active
Neil.
volcanoes. And yeah, so I know everything.
Clearly.
So let's explore the world together, guys, and go on this journey of discovery through Hearthstone over the coming weeks.
Kind of got caught red-handed there.
Yeah.
That happens. All right. So the first series today, Golem Pichaga is going to be playing game number 1 against Rezdan. Druid and Paladin versus Druid and Shaman.
Right, so it'll be interesting to see what they pick there. Obviously, there is the opportunity for both of them just to pick the mirror. But something that's changed so much with Ongoro is you don't ever know exactly what's going on.
Right. There are a lot of classes that are more like spectrums than individual decks. We should take a moment just to explain the format. It is a best out of 5, with each player on the team having, being one deck, essentially. Each team has, or each player rather, has 2 classes, and they will be choosing one of their 2 classes when they know which class their opponent is playing. If the game goes to the final game, then that's where the ace match comes in.
Right, and the ace match is just the deciding match, which all of the gravy on the line. And you were saying that Indonesia had a plan for this one.
Yeah, so Nextalk said to me that they believe pretty strongly that Bulgaria are going to bring the same decks as they did last week. So Indonesia's plan is essentially just to counter-queue Bulgaria. They've decided that they are going to try and counter all of their decks.
Right, so if they brought the same decks, they may have done, but they've definitely mixed up the classes. And so it's possible that Indonesia's plan won't work here. But again, good to see that Indonesia working as a team, looking at what is going on around them and trying to counter stuff. As we see now, we're going to go into the first game, and neither player picked the Druid.
Neither player picked the Druid. That's interesting. Druid, one of these decks that seemed pretty strong a week ago, but as things have been shifting and rotating, Paladin seems to have kind of formed itself as this king deck in the current meta of Ungoro.
And it can go across a wide range of different decks as well. It's usually now this aggressive Murloc-based deck where it just looks like someone's got a Murloc collection to hit autocomplete, but it's actually really powerful. But there are ranges all the way through to N'Zoth control that you can bring. And of course, there is a little bit of mind games here. You see that the other players brought Paladin.
Yeah.
You're going to make some assumptions, and they're going to make some assumptions about your assumptions, and so the circle goes.
So I expect that Resdan will have expected his opponent to be playing the Paladin, and as a result, he decided not to queue the Druid, as he wants to play a deck that is more favourable against all of the different Paladin decks.
Right, the only Paladin that does well against Shaman is, in my opinion at least, the incredibly slow Paladin, which can actually just grind out on value. But it's more likely to be Murloc aggression, so see where they go with that.
Now, we had a look at the players just a moment ago. I just want to quickly remind everyone back home, the players are allowed to communicate with their teammates. They will be communicating all throughout the day. Sometimes the players will be grouped together and actually playing in a room together. Sometimes they'll be on their own communicating via headset. So never think that there's some sort of crazy 3-on-1 scenario going on. All 4 players of each team will be playing and communicating together at all times.
Yeah, most of the teams have managed to get most of their team into the same room. Sometimes it just isn't possible. Some of these countries are pretty big, and the transport sometimes isn't good enough to get them from place to place. So, you know, when there's somebody on their own, like we see here, they will have their teammates around them. As we're into the first game of the day, guys, enjoy it.
All right, Resdan versus Golem Pachaga, and this is looking like, I want to say it's quite an aggressive Paladin simply because we can see Divine Favor there. Divine Favor tends to go in a deck which is very, very low curve so that they can help fill out the hand in the late game.
Yeah, and Resdan's got a hand that can deal with this. If he's queued this up, this is the hand he will want. He can deal with an early Murloc rush pretty easily.
Yeah, double Maelstrom Portal, definitely, you know, a few board clears can do pretty nicely there. It probably won't be enough. Like, a lot of these Murlocs, like Valfin Inquisitor that we've just seen picked up, they do actually have more than even 2 health, so the Maelstrom Portal alone won't be good enough. And once Murloc War Leader comes down, Resdan's really going to need something like a Lightning Storm to actually clear up the board.
And again, you can see the discussions going on here. If you're thinking these mulligans are taking a long time, people are going to clear every decision with their team for the large part. Some of the teams were saying, actually, after the first round of games, that having 4 people is sometimes too many.
Right.
So some of the training involves telling somebody to shut up, which is what happens a lot when I'm casting. But
absolutely. Well, I'm sure we'll experience later today. There are a lot of decks right now where you actually do have to play quite fast. Priest decks, for example, the turns with Lyra you can just run out of time when you're playing on your own. And when you're trying to play as a team and discuss every single play, time runs out much more quickly.
Yeah, people are used to it with Miracle Rogue, but not so much with Miracle Priest decks, like you've just said.
Right.
With Miracle Rogue, there will be somebody in the team who says, just go, just do things. But with Miracle Priest, there's a lot of weird interactions that people haven't really got that used to yet.
Now, Resdan throwing down Firefly on turn 1. Such a strong counter, actually, to these aggressive decks. Vilefin Inquisitor only has 1 attack, so it's not going to be killing the Firefly in 1 hit. On the flip side, Resdan is actually going to want to kill that Vilefin Inquisitor and every Murloc, as I said earlier, before that War Leader comes down. And we've now seen it picked up in Golem Pachaga's hand.
Yeah, it's so powerful because you can choose to play the Flame Elemental on turn 2 or 3 if you wish, or you can just keep it for an activator, so you always have an activator for your elementals. As he hasn't got another one in his hand, he may just play it, or he may just keep it until he knows which turn he wants to play it on. But Hydrologist, the card that has made Paladin good again.
Yeah, well, Hydrologist is a 2-2 as well, which obviously trades very nicely with the Firefly that is on the board. And now Resdan, already quite a tricky turn here. Maelstrom Portal feels like a huge waste, so you totem up, but that doesn't feel good either against an aggressive deck.
There's also the option to Flame Elemental and then Lightning Bolt the Hydrologist. And the option with that would be you've got 2 1/2s that can attack into the 2 health minions next turn and back them up with a Maelstrom Portal. Or he can just trade a Maelstrom Portal now, but that feels wonky. It seems a good time to me to get the Overload from the Lightning Bolt out of the way, while your turn 3 is looking kind of awkward anyway.
You're absolutely right. There is no turn 3 card or 3 mana card in the hand. Lightning Bolt, not even a card that we see that often in Shaman decks nowadays. It's quite an interesting tech choice, very good against the aggressive decks. I mean, looking at the hand here, you can tell that Rezdan wanted to face some aggro decks here. Yes. Double Maelstrom, Lightning Bolt. We're starting to see why this deck was picked over the Druid.
Yeah, very much so. And Rezdan, a player who wants to put, and I mean they all do, but one of the guys who specifically stated he wants to put Indonesia on the map. He believes that they're definitely underrated, like I was going through earlier with all of APAC. So he'll be taking help from his team. And he's also hunting HCT points this year. He finished 40th Legend in January. That's not a bad guy to have driving your deck for you.
So Golem Pachaga, what's incredible to me is that it's only turn 2 right now, and there's already been so many decisions that both players have had to make.
Right.
And they're clearly thinking very hard on them. Like Indonesia just spent the last turn roping on turn 2, which just shows how difficult the game is to kind of get every play right. Golem Pachaga seems pretty confident about this play, just putting down everything onto the board that he possibly can. The Secret is going to eat up one of these 1/2s, and then Vilefin Inquisitor should survive, hopefully long enough to get that Murloc War Leader down.
Yeah, I don't think there's any point Rezdan not attacking here, so he might as well attack into the 1/3 and see how he feels, see what happens, make more assumptions afterwards. The great thing with Hydrologist is it has a 60% chance of picking the secret you want.
Right.
And so a lot of the time it will take Getaway Kodo, for instance.
Yep.
That's the go-to pick.
I feel as though casters have talked about this to death, but it's something that we really do want to hammer home. Like, Paladin Secrets seem so bad on their own, but when you don't have to put them in the deck, when you almost get to choose whichever one you want from the Hydrologist, these cards, specifically Getaway Kodo, are just so strong.
Yeah, I think almost everybody overlooked Getaway Kodo in reviews or previews of what the cards were going to be like. I think it's been one of the great sleepers in the set, and it's working out really well. And Rezdan actually just seems to be loading up the board here.
Lots of 1/2s, pretty good board to have. You could make the argument that playing all of your elementals so fast might backfire if he doesn't draw any more, and then draws a Servant of Kalamos in 2 turns and isn't able to kind of curve into it.
On the assumption, which is a good assumption by the way, that this is an elemental.
Right, you're right.
It's this right assumption. I made exactly the same thing, but maybe it's not. Who knows? There's still lots of good Jade stuff out there.
A Firefly is good enough to just be run in any deck by what we've seen so far. So you're right, we did just make that assumption. Shaman, generally Elemental Shaman nowadays. These cards all go in Elemental Shaman, but it might not be. And maybe that play is an indication that it's not.
It's interesting that I think that Shaman has gone from being probably the most versatile class to the least versatile class, with the rotation out of Tunnel Trog and Totem Golem. And they still got some good new toys, but they're kind of very linear toys. So Shaman, we package it there as just a Shaman deck. Yeah. Because we're used to Shaman just being Shaman at the moment.
Though, as you said earlier, like the decks, you never really know what to expect here. And I don't even think there's that many set. These are the Elemental Shaman lists. They're all a little bit varied.
Like you say, there's a Lightning Bolt in this particular one. There's all sorts of options this turn, by the way. This Jade Claw's a fantastic pickup. You're going to allow this War Leader to be dealt with very, very easily in the manner of Rezdan's choosing.
The really annoying thing for Rezdan about that War Leader there is that it's actually rebuffed the Vilefin Inquisitor. If the War Leader dies, the Inquisitor is still back up to 3 health again. So even though the War Leader probably dies this turn, it still has a permanent effect on that Vilefin Inquisitor, just by healing it once.
Yeah, which is terrifying for people who played other card games, but this is how we do it properly in the real world.
Wow, Stone Tusk Boar off of the Maelstrom Portal. Not quite as brutal as this card can be in a certain other deck.
Well, hang on, that's a 1/1. I didn't know. I thought it was a 5/5.
I wasn't going to bring it up. We can save that trauma.
Sorry, let's not
for
do
later on
with
today.
That one. As with this format, obviously, it's not a ban format. It's a pick what you want to play format. So that particular deck may be seen once or twice.
Or 3 times, or 5 times, or more.
Yeah. It'll be seen.
So, Gentle Megasaur, not the best 4-drop to play when you've got an empty board. Though, no, it's terrible. I was going to say that you could play it for its body, maybe.
That's the thing, it's an okay body. A 5/4 for 4 is a respectable vanilla minion. You wouldn't choose to put that in your deck on its own, but it doesn't mean you can't play it when you have nothing better to do, like, say, right now. The only time you wouldn't is if you could maybe make 2 Murlocs this turn, which he can't. And so the only discussion is whether he takes a True Silver and deals with these 1/1s with it, which feels...
That feels so bad. Golem Pachaga is thinking, where is my Maelstrom Portal? Where's my Stone Tusk Ball?
Yeah, it's called Consecration, but a lot of these Paladin decks, by virtue of trying to get a lot of damage into their deck, if you're damaging people, you don't really want to be removing their minions because you've got the board. There's nothing to remove.
It's so awkward. We've established that Bulgaria want to be aggressive here, but using a 4-attack weapon to hit some 1/1s just doesn't feel right. He does go with the Gentle Megasaur, and Rezdan has quite a few options here.
Yeah, not least just Jade Lightning your 5/4 hit you in the face. It's not particularly exciting, but that play probably tells him that there's no Consecration. It doesn't 100% tell him it's easy where we're sat. He may be thinking perhaps Golem Pachaga is trying to get him to trade all his minions in or something to save a Consecration. But really, if he thinks about it hard and don't forget his whole team is with him, then they'll probably conclude there's either no Consecration in the deck or there at least isn't one in the hand, and the Jade Lightning will be very powerful.
Yeah, it's just a question of whether he wants to hold on to it and use it a little bit later or not. He decides, no, I'm going to continue developing the board. I put a 2/2 down. We hit the face. You're right, he's absolutely not playing around Consecration anymore.
The strange thing here is that the Shaman deck's almost out of stuff, and the Paladin deck's the deck that's almost having to go on the control for now. And as you identified at the start, with Divine Favour, that's a big giveaway that this is not a value Paladin. This is a hits you in the face Paladin.
It's quite backwards, yeah. The defensive deck is just able to be aggressive here, which probably means Rezdan and Indonesia are feeling pretty good. I'll tell you a very, very, very bad card in Golem Pachaga's hand right now, and that is Sunkeeper Tarim.
Turn your opponent's deck into a win. Yeah, that seems like a bad card right now.
I'm not saying the card's usually bad. The card is great, but...
just temporarily having a moment where
right
he's
now,
not the best card ever. Obviously, Tarim, one of the reasons that Paladin is good as well, but being a legendary, it's not so good as Hydrologist in that way, because you can only play one of them, of course.
Okay, so this doesn't quite feel as bad as what we were talking about last turn. Putting a 3-attack weapon into a 2/2 minion. It's not quite like putting a 4-attack weapon into a 1/1, but Golem Pachaga still has a lot of work to do to get this board back. It really is. We keep saying it. It's all about Consecration right now. We don't even know if he runs it.
Right. Yeah. A lot of people think that you shouldn't run any. I think that the consensus is that maybe you run one because things like mirror matches do happen and they can just blow your opponent out. Running 2 starts to interfere with your strategy of just killing your opponent with minions, because you're doing that on turn 4, you're not playing a good aggressive 4-drop. Or even in a push, like you play your Murloc War Leader for 4 mana, and if you've got a big board, it's still massive.
And when you're playing Divine Favour as well, I mean, it's just another 4-mana card, isn't it? And you really need to get that curve as low as possible. Sunkeeper Tarim is a special case, because especially in this type of deck, it's usually very, very strong.
It's also a way of forcing through against something huge, like Tar Lord or something that you just can't get through otherwise. So that's your equality in this deck. As well as you say, it just buffs everything to 3/3s. It's also a way of getting through something that's problematic, like an Ancient of War.
Speaking of problems, there are now taunts on Rezdan's side of the board.
Being very careful there to make sure that Bulgaria can't keep a single Murloc on the board. Just trading his boar off there, even though it looks like Indonesia, the aggressive deck here. Rezdan being very careful just to make sure that, no, we've got to remember we are the control deck, even though we're smashing our opponent in the face. Let's not let them have a single Murloc that can suddenly be adapted and start doing naughty things. Well,
in this game, it is Golem Pachaga's job to beat down Rezdan, and Rezdan knows that, and it's his job to not let Golem Pachaga beat him down, and that's his win condition. If Golem Pachaga never gets a board, then he's probably okay. Consecration, still a little bit dodgy for Rezdan here. I'm sure he's going to want to play around it a little bit, and at the moment it does almost take away his whole board. Though Blood Mage Thanos, Maelstrom Portal, pretty good cards for this matchup as well. He'll probably want to hold on to those for as long as possible.
I'm just going to mention that the Thanos is interesting here because he definitely wants to keep the Thanos back for the portal so he can destroy a much wider board if needed, but he could do with cycling it as well. He hasn't currently got anything in his hand that does anything. And yeah, they're forcing Bulgaria to preemptively use their Blessing of Kings, and you'd never want to preemptively use your big cards. And now we see it, this is not your common or garden control deck for Shaman. It's just a straight-up face deck. So we've been saying he's in control.
I am confused because, as you say, we've had no reason so far to believe it's anything other than a control deck. But Flaming Faceless, that's an aggro card.
Yeah, we saw this in the final of Tespa the other day. But again, it was kind of a surprise then as well. It's like, hey, there's 2 Flame Wreaths in the deck. It wasn't so much of a surprise because there was access to the deck lists on that occasion. But aggro Shaman, certainly a back seat to the controlling Shamans, but the controlling Shamans haven't been doing so well. And so it shouldn't be a big surprise to us that he's playing huge beatdown, but the way he kept that opening hand to get the control of the board made it look like he was a control deck for sure.
Well, it definitely makes you look at this game from a very different perspective. And now, maybe Rezdan is the beatdown. Maybe he is trying to kill Golem Pachaga as quickly as he possibly can. Now, Sunkeeper Tarim is more interesting, but still, it's so difficult. You buff up 2 minions, you reduce the 7/7 to a 3/3. You probably gain overall, but...
Yeah, and you're on 14. You can't afford to be getting slapped about for 7. And Tarim will hold off 2 of these minions. But like you say, it's just an awkward mess at the moment.
Yeah, we would hold off 3, but Rezdan may decide to play that Maelstrom portal just to keep one of them alive. In fact, if Rezdan really values the taunt, he may decide to hit the Flaming Faces and the Healing Totem in, and then Maelstrom the Sunkeeper Tarim. I'm saying all of this as if Sunkeeper Tarim has already been played. It hasn't. I almost expect True Silver Champion to come down instead, but nope, there's the Sunkeeper Tarim. Let's see how Indonesia deals with this one.
By drawing another 7/7 is always a good way to deal with anything in my book.
It is. So now Flaming Faceless plus Maelstrom Portal seems like a pretty safe bet. Maybe Rezdan just trades all 3 of his minions in.
Yeah, I think the portal's probably a good way to save a 3/3 here, because 3 damage to face is significant when your opponent's on 14, as is the minion.
I agree.
Just going back to the opening hand, by the way, Rezdan did still see himself as the control in this matchup, even though it's not a control deck. If he keeps Firefly double portal, he is trying to stop the early rush, because the Murlocs have more synergy than the Shaman cards.
Yep.
The Shaman cards have synergy with precisely being really big and Flame Tongue Totem.
Right.
And whereas the Murlocs do have huge amounts of synergy, which you've got to stop.
And there we go. Bulgaria, Golem Pachaga, down to 11 health. No Murlocs on the board. Second Divine Favor picked up when his opponent has no hand. This is a disaster for Golem Pachaga and Bulgaria.
Yeah, absolutely horrible. A lot of people won't run 2 Divine Favors for this reason, even though in some ways it's the best card in the deck. If you're playing against a Control Warrior or something like that, when you've got Divine Favor in your hand, you just spew cards all over the board, then draw 6 more, then repeat the process. It's fantastic, but in this situation, it is grim.
Divine Favor, Jeeves, Genzo the Shark, these cards that have always had this very similar condition to get you any value, and unfortunately, right now, Golem Pachaga is not meeting that condition. His hand is too full.
Genzo the Shark.
Genzo the Shark.
Hi, Raven. How's it going?
I was going to say, there are some people that believe Genzo the Shark is going to be really relevant at some point. Who knows? Might be.
I just shout out to Raven there. Okay, so going all in on everything they can possibly do this turn to try not to die. This is about the only way they can develop any sort of board at all and not be insta-dead. But Rezdan probably has a lot of things in his deck that will help kill. Oh, that's nice.
Thing from Below is a great way of just preventing Bulgaria from doing anything.
Yeah, and it might be time to play the Blood Mage as well, just to try and pick up lethal damage, as well as... It doesn't empty your hand as such, but it definitely slows things down a bit. I
definitely think that Thing from Below is trading, just because you've been playing around a second Murloc War Leader all games so far. And I guess the second Gentle Megasaur as well. Do you run the risk of going face here, or do you think, hey, even if he does have a Gentle Megasaur, I'm fine?
I've got another Lightning Bolt in my deck if I'm from Indonesia right now. I'm just going to hit him in the face and try and draw my other Lightning Bolt. Amongst all the other obvious things that you can see, that even to get into that position. And there's probably another Jade Lightning as well.
So, Golem Pachaga is able to clear the Thing from Below with 1 Murloc, if he plays both of his others. But the question is then what? Where's that thing from below? Like, what's getting rid of thing from below? I think the answer is nothing is getting rid of that thing from below. That thing from below will be free to hit that last 7 damage into Golem Pajaga's face next turn.
Yeah, it's looking like there's no way out here. Can't even empty the hand to draw 1 card by killing the Blood Mage and then finding a way to Divine Favor and then finding something that does.
What a convoluted play that would have to be.
Oh, maybe this is happening. Maybe he's going to empty his hand by doing this. Or maybe he's just doing the thing that rogue players love to do. Look at how unlucky I am with these cards I put in my deck.
He's conceding. Rezdan is smiling. Game number 1 going to Indonesia. And what an interesting game that turned out to be. Just for us as spectators, we believed it was a control shaman, and then we got this nasty surprise in the form of a 7/7. Surprises that we've all had playing against shaman over the last year or so.
Hey, nasty surprise if you're a Bulgaria fan. If you're somehow rooting for the APAC teams today, it's a nice surprise.
Sure, absolutely. So are you feeling a little bit happy about this? Is there a little bit of bias in this going on?
There's a little bit of bias for me in the APAC teams, but what I was really impressed with was how Rezdan stayed so calm throughout. There's the trap that you can fall into is getting too excitable in one of these, or trying too hard, or playing too quickly. And from what we saw there, Rezdan was obviously very measured, taking a lot of time for all of his turns, communicating with his team, and making sure that he got everything picture perfect. Even when it looked like he was definitely going to win, he didn't hurry anything.
There was no overcommitting to the board. He just he put the things on as he needed to. But now moving on to game number 2, we can see it's going to be Morgalad's Warrior versus Nexox Paladin. It's no surprise whatsoever that we're seeing Warrior picked over Warlock. I think Warlock is kind of universally agreed upon as the worst class in Hearthstone right now, as Zoo just hasn't quite been performing since the expansion as many thought that it would.
Yeah, Morgalad, a very, very experienced player. He has many, many top 100s, including an 18th place. He's played on the HCT. He went 2-2 in the preliminary/playoffs that he played. So he's a player that's... A lot of these Bulgarian players actually have been on the HCT playoffs preliminaries and not performed too great, but they're there. Just to get there, you have to get 1 million HCT points, win 1 million Open Cups, and come top 50 on ladder. It's not quite that hard, guys, but it's hard.
Now, meanwhile, Nexox, going back to my conversation with him recently, he told me they're going to win.
He's going
just
to win.
Flat out told me, and you know, good start for them. But
not a percentage-based prediction, just a 100% we're going to win prediction.
Yep, they are going to win this match. That is what I was told. And it was him that told me the strategy. So they're very, very confident in what they were doing. Obviously, it worked out for game number 1. Game number 2 coming shortly. Again, just a reminder to everyone back home, the players are communicating with each other via headsets. There is no one playing on their own. This is a team tournament. Every single series, I suppose unless the players choose not to, every single series is going to have the entire team behind them. There's no individual playing here.
Yeah, the only things that are individual from some of the players are the quotes. I think Nexox probably took it upon himself to tell you that they're 100% certain to win. But so far, he's been proved right.
I don't know. There's a lot of confidence there.
There's a lot of determination as well. Indonesia in particular trying to prove they truly believe they're one of the best nations in Southeast Asia, and Southeast Asia is definitely, as a collective, trying to prove they're one of the best regions in all of Hearthstone.
And right now, Nexox has good reason to be confident.
Yeah.
He's coming in after winning 1 game. They only need to win 2. Indonesia only need to win with this one and 1 more, and then they've won the entire series. The 4th player won't even get to play for each team if Indonesia win the first 3 games.
Yep, win 3 games, win the match. Simple as that, the rules here at HGG.
And that's how best out of 5s work.
Yeah.
And it can be a pretty heartbreaking position if you're looking forward to playing and your teammates or even if your teammates win the first 3 games, you're probably pretty happy about it then. But there's going to be a little bit of, oh, I was looking forward to my game.
No.
No?
No, that's not my attitude.
You're all about winning, aren't you, Neil?
I'm all about the winning. If my team wins, we won. I can put my feet up and win 3-0 quite happily, thanks.
Do you know what? They're probably in the same position. There's a lot of prize money up at stake here, so I wouldn't blame them for thinking that at all. And if their team are winning, then they're probably moving on to the next round anyway, which means they'll get to play it.
More Hearthstone or more free winning than just sitting with my feet up. So there was one of the Chinese tournaments where the grand finals, the team won 9-1.
Wow.
And one of the players won basically 7 of the games, and 2 of the players didn't get to play. Pretty sure they weren't too disappointed about it.
Yeah, free wins, free money.
Just get carried to a few $100,000. Yeah.
So, Warrior versus Paladin. What are we thinking about this matchup nowadays?
So if it's the aggro Paladin, it's a matchup I haven't played a great amount, but...
A really interesting discussion, I think. I'm assuming this is Quest Warrior, by the way. It could just be...
Yeah, I'm assuming it's Quest Warrior.
Pirate. But if it is Quest Warrior, an interesting discussion that's taking place a lot at the moment is when do you keep the quest? And I think against Paladin, it's very, very difficult to decide that. Because you don't know how controlly it's going to be. And as we can see, Nexox Paladin is looking very controlly.
So this is a matchup I have seen a heck of a lot of. And it's a very, very skillful matchup. It doesn't look it at first because the Warrior just goes... If it keeps the quest, which it may well not, but if it keeps the quest, the Warrior just tries to do the quest, and the Paladin basically just gets value, and it goes on, and he's kept the quest. Good call. And if you're the Paladin, you just get the value. What happens eventually, it's the timing of the brawl from the Warrior that's really important. They're trying to get off a brawl just after completing the quest, so they can start getting 3 headshots, basically.
Yeah.
If the Paladin times it well and forces the brawls out, he can make a wide enough board to negate the fire shots, the rag shots. If it doesn't manage to do that, then the Warrior tends to snowball out. So it's all about the Paladin trying to get a little bit of pressure on through those taunts to sneak out one of the early brawls. That's a lot of the matchup. And it's a very skillful matchup, despite the fact it doesn't look it at the start. All
about the brawl, then. It kind of harkens back to the old mid-range Shaman versus Control Warrior matchups, where the Shaman wanted to get a bigger board as possible for their Thunderbluff Valiant, and the Control Warrior wanted to save those brawls and their revenges so that they could get rid of everything. It is interesting to me that Bulgaria decided to keep the quest there.
And he's smirking. He knows that this is a decision he has made that could backfire.
Absolutely.
And he still doesn't know.
If this is an aggressive Paladin, as Morgalad probably is expecting it to be right now, that could not be good. Then again, he's got Armor Smith in his hand. It's one of the more defensive Quest Warrior decks by the looks of things. So maybe he's decided, hey, even if it is an aggro Paladin, that is a decision that I can make confidently because I've got a backup plan.
Yeah, maybe that's the way to solve the problem of how to mulligan. Because this isn't the only class where this can happen. Druid can be Jade.
Right.
And there's others as well. So
and
a lot of the classes have 2 choices now.
Ramp on Anaconda Druids, you're right. A lot of these classes go 2 ways, and if you don't already know what your opponent's playing, which in the HGG format, you don't know what your opponent's playing because you only see each deck once, it's a very tricky call.
So maybe they made the team decision to say, okay, we're going to play the Armor Smith fully loaded defense version, but unless we know for sure otherwise, we're going to keep the quest. They probably won't keep it against Rogue, for instance.
No, Rogue. Maybe even Mage is a pretty safe bet to get rid of it because you never really need the Ragnaros hero power to win. Stonehill Defender in Indonesia's hand right now, in Nexox's hand. Very, very strong card in Paladin. As, again, it's been said to death recently. 3 out of the 4, I think, Paladin legendaries all have Taunt. Ragnaros Lightlord being the only one in Standard that doesn't have Taunt.
And it kind of has Taunt.
Yeah, it kind
of have to kill it, but yeah.
But you can't get it from Stonehill Defender.
Sure.
And
oh, I see.
But the chance of you getting one of those legendaries is so high just because of how Discover works with the extra class percentages. The card just works in this deck. Nexox already getting that Murloc hero power down, meaning that he's going to get pretty good synergy with these Murlocs whenever he wants. And already, again, lots of decisions to make here. He could coin out True Silver Champion if he wants to kill that Armor Smith in 1 hit. He could play Murloc Warleader and make the trade there, although that doesn't actually destroy the minions, so maybe...
Yeah, and it is a difficult choice because damage is very relevant in this matchup. When the Paladin wins, it doesn't always win by snowballs. It comes down to, can I kill you before you hit your 1 in 5 rag shot?
Right.
You've got this board that the Warrior can't deal with, you're hitting them in the face to kill them off, and all the time they're firing away, trying to do the last 7 damage to your face. That's not how it always ends. Obviously, it's a very complicated matchup, but that's how it often pans out.
And he's actually going with Stonehill Defender. So Nexox not too worried about the Armor Smith picking up too much armor. Wicker Flame, Burn Bristle, Popping up here is one of the 3 Discover options, as I said, very, very likely to get at least one of these legendaries. But Primordial Drake, definitely not looking like a bad bet either. Which one do you think he goes for?
I think he goes for the Drake because I don't think the deck has enough punch, and he has the coin as well. So turn 7 Drake into turn 8 Drake. It's going to be a little bit difficult to navigate not blowing up his own stuff and not buffing the opponent's stuff, but I think it's the right choice to have a bit more beef in his deck.
It's a little bit tricky in this matchup. Like, in a lot of matchups, obviously the more aggressive ones, Primordial Drake can just win the game. Like, clear the board and put up a 4/8 minion. Yeah, that card against the more aggressive Paladins, against the more aggressive Druids and Pirate Warrior, that card is absurdly strong. But against Quest Warrior, as you said, it's not quite ideal, but it is great to have a lot of late game pressure. I can imagine that Nexup would have been hoping for Tyrion, or maybe even an extra Sunkeeper Taurum from that Discover.
Yeah, not ideal, as you say, and not ideal for Bulgaria here either, because the obvious play is to use up your weapon, but that weapon is going to be needed for much bigger things than a 1/4 whatever that is. I don't know what it is. It's just some sort of dude with a stick.
Stonehill Guardian.
I know what the card is, I just don't know what it is.
There we go. Well, we're playing the...
dude with a stick.
Playing the name game. Very, very sad for Morgulard here, by the way. Having to just shield block on turn 4.
Right.
What a tempo loss there against a deck where, although it's not that aggressive, Morgulard probably believes that it's aggressive. Well, he's seen the Discover, so... maybe not.
Yeah, he's probably got a good idea that this is the mid-range Paladin, but he's just torn between how do I ever deal with this 1/3 and caring about it. I feel that maybe they didn't need to attack in there, but the other side of the coin is when do you attack in there? Maybe save it for Murloc?
I guess there's the argument that you need to get rid of the taunt as quickly as possible so that when this happens, it doesn't get out of control.
Right.
On the flip side, there is now no way of getting rid of that Murloc War Leader. Looks like Morgulard's best play is going to be just putting up one of these taunts. You're not executing a 1/1 hero power Murloc, so it's just, I guess, Direhorn Hatchling, because it might maybe trade with the Murloc War Leader, but things are starting to snowball.
Yeah, and when Indonesia start to try and force out the first brawl, they might get a pleasant surprise, because the first brawl isn't even in hand yet for Bulgaria.
So they can just slowly expand bit by bit while not wasting any big minions. Essentially, as long as this Murloc War Leader lives, Nexoc is in a great position. And Stampeding Kodo, such a great card against this Quest Warrior.
Right.
Sure, Dirty Rat, but as we can see, Ali Armorsmith, that is a big deal if you can kill it for free with a Stampeding Kodo.
And so the existence of the Kodo probably means there's a Curator in the deck as well. And so the Warrior is not winning this by value. I mean, it never was, but it really is not winning this by value. Indonesia will be able to just keep getting cards. So at some point, Bulgaria are going to have to complete the quest and just start firing off rag shots.
So what does Indonesia do this turn then? The obvious play looks like it's True Silver Champion and trade the token in. He could then maybe coin out Rockpool Hunter, buff up the Murloc War Leader a little bit. He wants that to be as safe as possible.
Yeah, I think he's going to try and save this coin as long as possible as well. If you get a Spike Ridge Steed onto the War Leader, then that War Leader will have to be executed, otherwise it will just never die. And with the hero power making Murlocs every turn, that War Leader will need to die. So this is clearing the way to try and make the War Leader big next turn, and simultaneously use your weapon to maybe kill off something.
On the flip side, you could make the argument that Nexoc is going to want to make a second execute target so that the Murloc War Leader never dies. And I think that might be what he's hearkening to here. Obviously, summoning a 3/2 Murloc with your hero power seems good all of the time. But if he can now use the Spike Ridge Steed to buff up the token, meaning that the execute has to be used on that and the Murloc War Leader continues to just live and dominate the board, then Nexoc would be in a great position.
Yeah, next turn he'll be able to make another minion and play the Rockpool Hunter without particularly being too scared of a brawl, which is now obviously in the hand of Bulgaria. But Indonesia would have played around it all the time anyway.
Yeah.
Or maybe just start using his hero power. With this War Leader helping you make 2/2s and 3/2s.
Yeah.
It may just be a case of, I'm just going to keep making these guys until you brawl and get rid of that first brawl this way.
That being said, how badly, as Nexoc, do you want to drop the Stampeding Kodo here?
Yeah, it does look really, really, really good right now. Forces through 6 damage. It's almost an auto play.
I feel like you just have to. Yeah, exactly. It's an auto play. 5 mana, 3/5. Destroy your opponent's 5 mana minion. Seems good to me.
Okay, so the threat is real now. The Curator can slow this down a little bit, but it may not be enough for Bulgaria to be happy with, and they may start looking for other options.
Now, I believe that Morgalard hasn't actually played that many taunts just yet. I think he's on 2 or 3.
He is now on 3 after playing that Curator, so there's no way they're going to be winning this with the quest anytime soon. That's a big pickup, though, the Primordial Drake for next turn.
Only 3 top. Wow, that's... It's very, very slow, considering that you're against a control deck, and they've had quite an aggressive start.
This is a really tricky turn. You really want to save that War Leader for after the brawl happens. But also by playing the War Leader, the brawl has to happen.
Right. So how comfortable are you to waste it? Because I almost feel as though it's similar to, as I said earlier, the old Thunderbluff Valiant, where you only want to lose 1 to the brawl, and then you play the second one, and then
you might waste Consecration here. You might just Consecration and use your weapon up to, and then Hero Power, and just use no resources this turn at all.
I like it. I like it. But how good is Consecration in this matchup? It's not.
It might damage 2 or 3 minions at one time later, but it's not a game breaker. I think just Consecration, Hero Power, and hit your opponent for 9, plus the 2 from the Consecration, really piles on the pressure.
I suppose it sort of depends if there are equalities in this Paladin deck as to how good the Consecration is. That being said, Primordial Drake #1 and Primordial Drake #2, and probably Primordial Drake #3 still in the deck, are sort of a pseudo Consecration if things get bad.
This is another great way to play around Brawl. Just 2 minions, but we're still hitting you for 8. What are you going to do?
And as you said, Nexok did end up buffing up the Moloch War Leader with the Spike Ridge Steed, probably going to eat up and execute this turn. Now we've seen the Fiery War Axe picked up.
Yeah, that's a big pickup because it enables the execute if he wants it.
And this board just isn't quite big enough to brawl. Like, Morgalard and Team Bulgaria are probably thinking, we could play dirtier at brawl, but it's going to destroy 2 minions, and that's it.
Yeah, and the Spike Ridge Steed will activate and make a 2/6 anyway. And the health total's just starting to matter. 17 is not an emergency level, especially as you've still got your armor up, but you don't want to take 8 next turn, that is for sure. And
one worry that Morgalard is going to have right now is, what if there's a Tyrion in Indonesia's hand?
Shh, don't say the T word.
If there's a Tyrion, and bearing in mind that they haven't seen what Indonesia got from the Stonehill Protector yet, there's a high chance that Indonesia has at least 1, if not 2 Tyrions in their hand right now.
Just the 2 Tyrions, what could go wrong?
Well, it's become a common occurrence, which is pretty terrifying. So Morgalard doing his best to contest the board here, actually putting down the 5 mana 6/9. I like this a lot. It makes Tyrion feel much weaker.
Yeah, it really does. Just starting to look at all the options now. There's so many good options, but when you factor in that, again, keep on about this brawl, but it is the highlight of this particular matchup.
Yeah.
A lot of the options that look good are options you don't really want to take, like playing the War Leader, playing the Peacekeeper, those sort of cards. They're obviously fantastic options right now, but if you walk into a brawl and lose 5 cards in one turn, suddenly it doesn't look so smart.
So a few methods for clearing the board here. You've got double Consecration, trade the Kodo into the Elemental, and trade War Leader into the Direhorn. That's one way of clearing the board, though that does mean using up both Consecrations. Another method is use 1 and drop the second Murloc War Leader, and you can still make the same trades. Kodo goes into Elemental, sorry, into Tar Creeper, and Murloc goes into Direhorn.
Yeah, they've decided that this is actually just such a good way the numbers work out that they're going to do this.
Okay.
Way to use their Consecration to kill 2 things. And, I mean, it's a good brawl, but it's not an amazing brawl. And you've still got a handful of Primordial Drakes, which if there is a brawl, you can drop on a virtually empty board a lot of the time.
It's an okay brawl. Obviously, it's a brawl that Dirty Rat makes significantly better.
Right.
And it is something that players expect nowadays from a Quest Warrior. They expect Dirty Rat into brawl anytime after turn 7.
But with Rockpool Hunter and Murloc Hero Power, plus plenty of other stuff in hand, the double Primordial Drake, plus the rest of their deck, which has got some very, very powerful cards in, presumably Ragnaros, presumably Tyrion, getting rid of this first brawl, and there'll still be 5 cards each. head on health.
Right.
The quest hasn't really progressed enough to be terrifying yet.
The quest is...
keep Indonesia in a good spot.
5 out of 7, I believe, is the quest number at the moment.
Good meme.
Curator was 3, and then the Tar Creeper and the Diehorn were 4 and 5. So that's 6. Yes, that is number 6. Okay. So we are almost there. We are almost Sulfuras time. So Sulfuras into Brawl Hero Power is one of these terrifying turns that Quest Warriors are capable of doing. Although this time, Morgulard is going to go ahead and drop the ball right now.
Dirty about losers. That never happens.
Wow.
At least when I play against it. Okay.
The important thing is here, neither of the Murlocs won. Which really does cut down Nexox synergy. Though Ragnaros Lightlord, pretty good card to get off the top.
Pretty good indeed, because if that card doesn't get sniped by the hero power, it's just going to take over the game. So Primordial Drake will kill off the Kodo.
Yeah. Ideally, Nexox would have wanted Ragnaros to heal up the Kodo, obviously. The little bit of health heal he got there, the 5 additional health, doesn't look like it's going to make much difference, at least in the short term. But now, if Morgulard wants to, he can just, as you say, play the Drake, play the Execute, and save Sulfuras for next turn.
The downside, of course, of completing the quest is you never gain health again unless you're playing Shield Block.
He's already played 1 Shield Block.
Right. And
he's on 12 health. So that is a pretty major downside.
Yeah, people feel that the quest is overpowered in a lot of ways, but there's this downside where if your opponent's got any burn in their hand, they are just going to kill you with it. One of the brawls has gone, so Indonesia should have a good chance to start to make a bigger board. This interaction, though, with the Ragnaros into the Primordial Drake means their own Drakes will actually kill their own Ragnaros. So Indonesia have got a deck that is full of good stuff right now, but they're going to need it.
Or that could just happen.
Or just boom.
Yeah. Ooh, Sunkeeper Tarim. So Hero Power, Rock Ball Hunter. It's very awkward because you buff the minion before it gets buffed by Tarim.
But you don't have to. You can keep the Rock Ball Hunters at 2/3 and make the minion a 4/4.
That's true. It depends which way you like it. Do you like a board of 3/3s, or do you like a 4/4 and a 2/3?
Against a 3/3, I want a 4/4.
Okay.
That's my call.
That does sound good to me.
So make a Murloc, play Tarim. Rockpool Hunter is one option for this turn. It also has the bonus that it goes wide, which negates your opponent's quest, which you know they've completed.
And wide is very, very important here. Indonesia are probably a little bit worried. They're going with your play. They're going with the 4/4. Indonesia are probably a little bit worried about the fact that they have only seen 1 brawl yet.
Right.
I don't believe they've seen a Ravaging Ghoul, a Whirlwind, a Sleep with the Fishes.
And that Ravaging Ghoul is important.
So if there is, assuming there is a Sleep with the Fishes in Morgulard's deck, they're going to have multiple extra ways of clearing the board. The only difficulty for them, as you said earlier, is their health total being extremely low.
Yeah, and making sure that he gets the extra 2 armor here, Morgulard, for Bulgaria. Because, like you say, the health total is so low, they're just going to need every point they can get.
Got him!
Just accidental deaths.
That's the one. Okay. Okay, things have just turned pretty heavily in Morgulard's favor. That hero power was very important. There's the equality. So later on, Nexox will get a board clear with the Drake or the Consecration. But now there's a Ragnaros hero power coming down every turn, and this Ravaging Ghoul might just be dropped now just to make the hero power targets a little bit less.
This is where the game gets very, very interesting. This is the skillful part of the game I was talking about, where how many Whirlwinds have you got left? How many Ravaging Ghouls have you got left? Because this Paladin hero power just interferes so much with these Rag shots. If you can negate it like they're doing with all these Whirlwind effects, then it makes your Rag shots that much more pure.
So Ali Armorsmith probably looking like one of the best picks here, just because it's almost like getting your hero power back. I like to compare having Ali Armorsmith on the board with your regular hero power to having Tank Up back in the Justicar days. You gain 4 armor a turn instead of 2. Obviously, it's a little bit more conditional than that, but at this point in the game, Morgulard really needs the extra health.
Yeah, although we did see an Armorsmith in his opening mulligan, and so a regular one, so that might not be quite such the issue. With there's at least 2 of those to come, no, 1 of those still to come, and there's probably Ali Armorsmith. But I do agree, I think that's what he will take, especially as it's a bit cheaper. They don't really need huge things, they need things that just get in the way a bit more. And he actually goes for the Tar Lord, so what do I know?
Okay, sure, so he's just gone for the biggest possible minion. It's going to lose pretty hard to that equality. Now there's 2 equalities and 2 consecration effects in Nexox's hand. He's going to be able to clear the board whenever he wants, but the question is, when is he going to get to develop the last little bit of damage?
Right, so Bulgaria last turn didn't play their Whirlwind, they played the Ravaging Ghoul. which means that Indonesia may not realise that whirlwind is there. There's a chance they think, oh, he top-decked the whirlwind effect.
Right.
Lucky guy, like you do when you're crying. So they may be tempted to go equality consecration here, hit the face for 6, because the consecration will do 2, which means the 4-1 will represent lethal if it doesn't die. And they may just think, actually, they've got no way of killing it apart from the back shot.
Right.
It may be a choice they choose to go with. I mean, there's plenty of other good options, but that's something they may look at here.
I like that. I think it's so important now for Team Indonesia, for Nexok, to start pushing the damage, because they're on the clock.
Yeah.
That Ragnar's hero power eventually will deal as much damage as it needs to Nexok's.
But they may not feel the need to hurry. There's plenty of things they can do here that aren't hurrying, but yeah, they're going to go with that plan.
He's hurrying. He's hurrying now. He's putting Morgulad right down to 4 health.
Which is in range of true silver champion. It's in range of Ashbringer slash Tyrion. It's in range of a lot of stuff. And yeah, they're saying, okay, you've got to now deal with everything we play from now to the end of the game. We have 4 attack in our hand. You've got to deal with that in a minute as well.
There's that Sleep with the Fishes that I referenced earlier. No whirlwind effects anymore to go with it. Morgulad feeling very good about his 111 on the board right now, but doesn't know there's an equality that will dispatch that very quickly. Indonesia might just decide, I think they have to decide, equality, Primordial Drake, hope that I win next turn.
Yes.
It's time. It's win or lose, all based off of this Ragnaros hero power. Yep. Morgulad hasn't picked up anything.
Not many choices here. Good luck to whoever you're cheering for.
Die Insect. That was a successful hit, putting Nexok down to 7 health. The next Ragnaros hero power that strikes the face will end the game.
And this is what I was talking about. So now you play the Stonehill Defender. You want as many things on the board. You want another Stonehill Defender.
Ah, well, that's not another Stonehill Defender.
That's not anything they can play, in fact, this turn.
It's the Tyrion that Nexok wanted right back on turn 3 when he played the first Stonehill Defender.
Right, so now he's going to put a whole bunch of garbage on the board, and this is exactly what I was talking about, the timing of the brawl. If Bulgaria had a brawl here, they would win the game, almost always. They don't, and so... Oh, Poisonous is interesting here, by the way.
They're all pretty interesting, right? Like, so the health, there's protection against things like Whirlwind. Can't be targeted. Yep. Well, I guess you don't really need to protect a 1-1, but Poisonous as well to get rid of a taunt.
Well, there you go. It protected it.
It did.
So take out one of these.
Oh,
take the Fishers, but you haven't got lethal.
It doesn't win the game, though. It's so close. Oh, my goodness. Although Morgulad is able to put...
We were both expecting the rag shot there, I think. Okay, Tyrion time.
Put your faith in the light.
Okay. So this game is just getting more and more interesting as it goes along. Like, there's no obvious outcome just yet. Either player could still win this game.
Yeah, it's a really interesting matchup. And like I say, I think the players have both played it very well from what we've seen. And it is a skillful matchup. Like, they always try not to just go, oh, this is really skillful. But this particular matchup is so intricate. It almost always comes down to percentage-based Hearthstone at its most obvious, where how many times can you hit face with a rag shot?
Oh, the worst possible hit. I think it's safe to make that argument. A lot of people don't like the Quest Warrior mirror match, but you're absolutely right. I think when you match it against a control paladin, it gets really interesting. And now a second Gentle Megasaur. Nexok is able to go very, very wide with this board, and Bulgaria doesn't have a good way to clear everything just yet.
Yeah, this is the position you want as the paladin at the start of the game. You have to accept you're going to get down to a under 8.
Yeah.
It's a thing that happens. He would love to pick up a true silver champion at some point and just try to get to 8 or 9. Is there any other healing? Oh, there's sometimes they play 1 lay on hands, actually.
Yeah, sometimes lay on hands. Don't think Wickerflame Burnbristle has been picked up just yet.
He hasn't either. That's another card that will get to 9, which would be an absolutely crucial number to land up on.
Nexok would have loved Poisonous this time so that his Murloc could just trade into the Tar Creeper. Or even better, the Primordial Drake. He gets attack, which isn't quite going to cut it. So Nexok just going to go ahead and deal with that Drake by the looks of things.
Yeah, it seems that way. He's just working out whether he wants to play the Peacekeeper now, and I think he probably does.
I agree with this, yeah. Seems very, very strong. Keeping Tyrion as healthy as possible. Right now, apart from with Morgulad's hero power, there's no way of getting rid of Tyrion. That Dirty Rat, other than being another taunt, it does very, very little right now.
Yeah, Nexok, he's having a semi-heart attack there. He is just, wants it to be over, wants to see what this hits.
Oh, not quite. That's not quite good enough. And it's given Nexok the Ashbringer, which still is more damage. Look how low these health totals are, Lorinda. This game is going right down to the very end.
And they can hit the 3-3 here with their face, and that would stop Indonesia from having a way through. And both consecrations have been used.
That's the play. That's just the play. There's actually no way for Nexok to deal with the Dirty Rat apart from obviously using everything he's got, and that doesn't feel good. While Pyromancer being picked up on its own, it's just a 3-2 minion.
Yeah, it's just a 3-2 minion. Sleep with the Fishes is going to be relevant next turn as well, by the way, because that's going to take care of the Megasaur.
Yep.
And so we're going to have yet another rag shot. And this is, again, the percentage-based meme, but it's so relevant in this game because that's 3 or 4 rag shots that could have won the game now. And all the time, Indonesia are trying to make it so that those percentages are much, much lower.
I like this a lot. I like this. Actually dealing with the Dirty Rat rather than the Tar Creeper actually somewhat plays around Sleep with the Fishes as well.
Oh, Brawl.
Brawl could just end the game.
It would be so powerful because you can either win with your Tar Creeper, yeah, and he's going to injure this, so they're going to win the game unless the 1-1 lives, because the Sleep with the Fishes will kill the other 2 minions. So this is a 1 in 3 chance of just insta-winning.
Very strong
And
play.
then they've got a 50-50, so they've got a 5 in 6 chance of winning the game on this play alone.
That's it. That's the game. Sleep with the Fishes comes down, deals with the Gentle Megasaur, and the Die Insect hero power finishes the game, and Bulgaria take their first win. Nexok, not looking so happy about that.
No, pretty disappointed, but he claps there the opponents as well, because it was well played by Bulgaria. They never really... They looked like they might lose, but you could never identify a spot where they're actually going to die next turn, and they've managed to hang on really well there, especially with a double Sleep with the Fishes not looking like a good hand at one point there.
Morgalad very proud, showing off his flag there with the final moments of screen time.
That's what this is all about. 48 nations. We're going to see a lot of flags.
What an exciting game, and it was exactly as you said. It came down to that second brawl, clearing the board, Sleep with the Fishes, finishing the job, and then the Ragnar's hero power. You know, honestly, in the first half of that game, I thought the Paladin was so heavily ahead that I thought they were going to take it. They had the Warrior down to such low health total. Paladin was still at 30 health. And I really thought that the Paladin was going to take it, but there you go. Ragnar's hero power, it's pretty strong. There's a reason people play this deck.
Yes, there really is a reason. That's why. There's a reason people don't like it as well, because it's good. People never like things that are good in Hearthstone.
People don't like good decks in Hearthstone, but pro players tend to like good decks in Hearthstone.
Yeah, earns them money, oddly enough. This next matchup, Priest versus Mage. Anything you like versus anything you like. Who knows what we're going to see here? This
is... oh, we got a little highlight there from last game. The first brawl coming down after the Dirty Rat. Nexok trying so hard to play around it. But Bulgaria getting the Dirty Rat, getting the brawl, dealing with everything. And just a 3-2 Stampeding Kodo surviving. Pretty good result, I think, for Bulgaria there.
Yeah, at this point, though, it did look like Indonesia were probably going to carry this game. But... once again, the attrition from Die Insect slowly but surely ground down Indonesia's resources. You saw the hand sizes go from like 2 versus 6 to 2 versus 2 over the course of that. And at the end, Indonesia had no cards left in hand, had to rely on the top of their deck and just didn't pull anything up because they'd used so much good stuff earlier already.
This moment where we thought the game was pretty much over, but it just went on and on. It really went to the last possible moment. Morgalad winning the game with 1 health. Incredible, some incredible Hearthstone there.
Yeah, absolutely exceptional, and it goes back to other choices they made, like taking the Armor Smith in their main deck. Maybe the Tar Lord pick could have gained them some armor, but maybe it would not have absorbed so much damage. All those choices that they made were relevant over the course of the game, and I dare anyone to go through that and pick out every single moment that every single point of health was won or lost.
Yeah, hard game, well played, and vitally it's put both teams onto 1 win. So all 4 players on both teams are going to get to play today.
And you love to see every single player play.
I like to see everything. It's just not fair when the 4th guy doesn't get to play, is it?
Are you the 4th guy often, Dan?
I'm the 4th guy. My team always put me 4th.
So
if I was on the Global Games, my team would.
There's definitely bitterness here.
So Silent Storm versus Liga Game Joth. Is that right? Is that how you say it?
That's what I would say.
Now it's my fault if it's wrong because I said it first.
So Liga Game Joth, like I said earlier, he pretty much broke the feedback form, but he consistently makes legend. Top 12 at the APAC Summer Prelims, which was obviously the top 8 go through. Top 16 Thailand Major. He was pro junior at chess, other games, StarCraft 2. Wants to be a national hero. Well, if he lives up to that lot, he'll be a national hero because that sounds exceptional to me.
And he's bringing the Priest today, which is your favourite deck, I know, Neil. It's not.
Don't make me do Priest things.
You don't like Priest. I do like Priest. And there's a few different versions it could be. Obviously, the first few days of the expansion, Silence Priest was, or Purify Priest, or Unicorn Priest, as some are calling it, was the big one. Then Dragon Priest sort of emerged. People said, hey, look, Draconid Operative is just as good now as it was before, and you get it all the time from Netherspray Historian. And more recently, there's been the interesting, I don't even know what you call them, Control Priest, Miracle Priest, some are calling it, which focus around Lyra and the Elemental.
Yeah, it turns out the amount of card advantage you get from Lyra doesn't really matter what the cards are as long as they do something to affect the game, and most of them do something.
And so many of the ones that don't do anything are 0 mana anyway. So just, okay, silence a random minion.
Yeah,
okay,
draw another card.
Forbidden Shaping, summon a Wisp, draw another card. Summon another Wisp, draw another card.
Infinite value.
And these lists are very interesting because some of them do top out with cards like Medivh and Free from Amber. Which work together really, really well, but sometimes struggle against the early game. The real highlight about Priest is Shadow Visions, a card which I think a lot of people overlooked, but it turns out being able to choose a card in your deck, be it a Divine Spirit, or an Inner Fire, or a Free from Amber, or a Shadowed Pain, and picking up as many of them as you want. Well, not as many as you want, but getting 4 of them in the deck instead of 2. It's pretty good.
It is traditionally in card games, being able to just rip what you like out of your own deck, one of the most powerful effects. It's something that Hearthstone tiptoed around for a while just in case.
It had Sense Demons.
You know what, let's print this in Priest and see how it goes. And it turns out it goes just about perfect to make the class playable and interesting without feeling like you're being cheated on the other side, which is the problem with those cards sometimes.
It had Sense Demons, and that was pretty much it. Like, as far as actually taking cards from the deck. I really like what they did with Priest. I'm very, very excited about Priest. Can you tell?
Yeah, I can tell, and that's why I'm going to walk off and let you solo cast it. No, it's all right, guys. I'll hang around.
Well, what we haven't talked about yet is the Mage, and it's looking, based off of this opening mulligan, like a Freeze Mage. Just straight up Freeze Mage.
Which is interesting, because everyone will be... And this is, by the way, looking like Dragon Priest.
It is looking like Dragon Priest.
Which is one of the more interesting Priest versus Mage matchups. People have just tuned in maybe for the first time in a year because they want to watch their country play will think, well, doesn't Freeze Mage just destroy Priest? That's not quite how it works anymore, kids.
So the interesting things that have changed, primarily it's the fact that Freeze Mage lost some of its important tools for the one-turn kill technique.
Right.
It lost the Ice Lances, it lost Evolved Kobold, it lost Emperor Thaurissan. It's not actually possible for Freeze Mage to create this hand where you have a guaranteed 30 damage combo anymore. So that's one thing. The other thing is Priest of the Feast, very, very strong card. Alexstrasza comes down from the Freeze Mage, Priest of the Feast, plus a load of cheap spells, including Shadow Visions, with Radiant Elemental's help the Priest just get back up to full health again.
Right, and obviously the Dragon Priest is, on the other side of that, is the version that plays the most minions and therefore the most susceptible to just being frozen and frozen and frozen. And so that makes this matchup interesting for me. I think the Priest is probably slightly favoured. But in all the other iterations of Priest, I think the Priest is heavily favoured.
It completely depends. And as I said before, I think Priest of the Feast is a vital decider as to which deck is favoured.
Right.
Silent Storm is going to want to pick up as much damage. He's going to want to pick up Alexstrasza as soon as he possibly can. We don't know yet whether he's running 2 Pyroblasts or Pyroblast and Antonidas. I would assume that Pyroblast and Antonidas is the more regular build at the moment.
Yeah, I don't know. Agree.
Yep.
One thing, and they may not have that much card draw. Some people maybe dropped a loot hoard. If I say some people, the word laughing always comes to mind when it comes to Freeze Mage.
Right.
Maybe drop a loot hoarder. It turns out that when you've got Arcanologists and Glyphs, your hand doesn't empty like it used to. And so you can afford to drop a little tiny bit of card draw. And also you want to play your Arcanologist quickly as possible because those 2 points of damage make more difference now that you can't do a 30-point OTK.
I just want to quickly highlight the Priest Discover we had just there. Another Spy Historian comes down. Draconid Operative, which, as we mentioned before, almost always shows up, gets picked up straight away. If the Priest gets an Ice Block from the operative, that is actually huge because it gives the priest a free turn to fake their death and then just heal up again using Priest of the Feast.
Fake their death.
Fake their death. That's what Ice Block is, right? Well,
that's fine by me. I quite like the image of priests just pretending to be dead until all the burn goes away, and then no, guys, I'm fine.
I should say feign death, but then we're getting a little bit close to Hunter territory.
Yeah, we don't want to talk about Hunters. Raven's not here this week.
Anyways, Priest of the Feast also, we can now see it in Liga Game Joth's hand. So very good chance for the Priest this game, although a lot of people, as you said, may have come into this matchup thinking, oh, Mage wins.
Yeah, it's going to be difficult for Silent Storm and Bulgaria here. Again, you can see him talking to the rest of his team there. Clearly, the Bulgarian guys had to play in separate rooms this week, which is a shame. But we will see plenty of teams later all sitting together. That is for sure. Yeah,
it looks like there's a lot of communication going on Bulgaria's side. Indonesia, Liga Game Joth is being very quiet. Maybe he's just listening. No, he's talking.
He's feeding back as well. And I mean, he's a very confident player, so I suspect he's one of these guys who says, I'm going to do it my way, and you agree. If you don't agree, then I'll listen. But most of the time, I want to plan my way.
One of the interesting facets about this team format as well as making your turn slower, you have to think, your opponent is going to be playing much more slowly than usual as well, which can have interesting effects on the game because you can end up overthinking things and thinking yourself into a hole. There are some players that actually benefit from playing quicker. I don't recall who off the top of my head. But
Zixo
is one,
Breath
of course.
Is another one from China. Those guys, when they slow down, first of all, they give their opponents more time to keep up with their thought process, and secondly, they just seem to make more mistakes.
And they think to themselves, or they've said that their gut instinct actually tends to be right more than when they start to overthink of it. I guess that's just part of knowing and understanding the game so well.
I'm playing millions of games of Hearthstone.
Right.
Like, I've seen this. Zixo's words always are, I've played this position so many times, I don't need to think it through. I know what happens in this position. Interesting to see Bulgaria were talking all the way through Indonesia's turn there. Obviously, with Freeze Mage, there's a lot of hard work he's doing, especially when you're in a matchup like this. And so they're not missing an opportunity at all to communicate.
No, and again, when you're playing a deck which can be as complicated as Freeze Mage, then having 3 teammates at your back to catch you and make sure that you're not doing anything silly, it can be very, very beneficial as well, because even the best players in the world can get Freeze Magey things wrong. Maybe not so much now. Emperor Thaurissan rotating out, you could argue it's made the deck a little bit simpler to play, because knowing when to play that card was a huge aspect of what made the deck so difficult. But Primordial Glyph is actually a very complicated card in this deck.
Right, because you need to know at what point you feel the need to play the Glyph because you're either so far ahead or so far behind that you could do with a certain card, or you can afford to, and at what point actually the Glyph isn't really helping because you've got Arcane Intellect and Blizzard in your hand anyway. Why do I need to use my Glyph right now?
Now, this is a difficult situation for Indonesia, by the way, because the obvious play is Priest of the Feast, but then you're using up your Priest of the Feast.
Right.
And then if you use it up and later on Alexstrasza comes down and you don't have a method to heal yourself, you might be in trouble.
Yeah, and they have no other obvious play right now. So yeah, they're going to do the bit of the turn that's easy and then take a moment to think about the rest of it.
It really is looking like the turn is just heal up the Radiant Elemental.
And I think that's correct, personally. I like that a lot, because this Priest of the Feast is their way to win the game later on.
Counter-argument is that Priest of the Feast can absorb a lot of damage, can absorb a Fireball, but then on the flip side of that, something like a Doomsayer with Frost Nova could ruin the Priest of the Feast's day.
And you're not going to win the game, most likely, with a 3/6 minion.
No.
It just gets frozen.
However, the 3/5/6 minions...
Right, that's enough pressure that the Freeze Mage then has to start interrupting its card draw and interrupting its game plan to actually start taking care of stuff.
Pressure plus value, plus more pressure, plus more value. I don't even want to start thinking about what Liga Game Joth can get from this. He could get a Fireball, he could get... there's one Ice Block in the hand, but he could get the second Ice Block. There's so much he could get. Let's see what gets picked up here.
Yeah, playing the Arcanology as early as you dare is always good to just make sure your draws are that little bit more pure. The turn where you would have drawn the Ice Barrier feels like a wasted turn. So
it's good for Liga Game Joth though, because if the second Ice Block was picked up there, it would have meant he could not get it from his Draconid Operative, and we established earlier how important getting an Ice Block from an Operative can be for the Priest.
Using the Frostbolt, a big deal there as well. You have 4 ways to do 3 damage in your deck. 2 Frostbolts. just have a look at this and interrupt my chain of thought.
Pyroblast.
And 2 valets. Yeah.
Valet could be good if you were guaranteed a secret at some point, which you're not. Oh man, Pyroblast just has to be so tempting here. With the amount of pressure that he's going to be applying over the next few turns, I don't think it's any stretch of the imagination that he might even pop the Ice Block with Pyroblast.
Assuming that he's not running 2 already, which would make his decision a lot different. Oh, sorry, yeah, cracking up. They're not running 2 in Priest.
How many Pyro
Priest, you dare. Sure, yeah, stealing Pyroblast, like you say, just a surprise win condition.
You'd hate that even more.
Well, Pyro Priest. At least they wouldn't be stealing my stuff and hitting me with it. Unlike this.
Right, so Bulgaria. His hand is a little bit big here.
Yeah.
He wants to play Acolyte Ping. That's kind of like the ideal play on turn 5.
Right.
But I think he just starts overdrawing if he does that.
Yeah, and this is, again, we're going back to that dropping a loot hoarder from the deck thing. Is, you know, you don't need as much card draw as you used to because you end up in situations, words are hard, like this quite often.
Yeah. Already 10 cards in hand, so Acolyte Ping is completely out of the question. Primordial Glyph might be tempting if you've got nothing else to do. You just play that as an investment for later.
But then you have to do something else because your hand fills up.
So in that case, you just drop the Ice Block.
Sure. That's a good time to get it out of the way.
Or Barrier, I guess. It's okay. Like, if he has to play something, then he has the options there. Not giving... Oh, okay, he's playing... Oh, okay, and using the coin and using a secret. That's okay. Using of the coin may indicate there's no Antonidas here.
Yeah, that's a possibility. There's so many builds. I think the Antonidas probably will be there for this because this format has had quite a lot of control in it, and so the Antonidas can be needed a lot, but it is possible for sure there is no Antonidas here.
Liga Game Joth has the option, if he wants to deny Bulgaria draws from that Acolyte and take them himself, which would eliminate Bulgaria's hand size problem. But
Pyroblast, I told you there's 2 Pyroblasts in Priest. Everybody knows there's 2.
You actually said there's 3. Yet there is still the possibility for him to pick up a third.
Thank you. But no, seriously, this is, obviously the barrier is not particularly useful. The Blizzard isn't particularly useful here. We might just see the Pyroblast get taken because the other 2 cards don't do much.
So when you said, depends on how many Pyroblasts the Priest runs, you just knew this was coming. Although, he picks up the Ice Barrier.
Oh, this is interesting because he may just feel that those 3 cards were useless enough that if he can sneakily get the Ice Barrier triggered by tempting Bulgaria to attack, Bulgaria will only get 1 attack in through the whole game, probably, into that Ice Barrier, and that's 8 armor!
Indonesia doing exactly what we predicted earlier, stealing one of these draws from the Acolyte, which is kind of okay for Bulgaria as well, because their hand is still looking very full.
Right.
They maybe don't mind the fact that this Acolyte's only drawing 1 card. They probably do mind the fact that it gave their opponent 1.
Yeah, Silent Storm is just generating no damage at all. By now, when a game goes this long, you start to have pieces of the combo. You start to have an Alex Straz or a Fireball or something hanging around in your hand, ready to start filling out the hand. But at the moment, he just has nothing. And the pressure has just begun. He's now started facing down 11 damage, so suddenly you've got to start taking care of your opponent.
Bulgaria picks up the Pyroblast. You know what that means. Unless there's a second Pyroblast in the deck, which there may be. But if there isn't, then Indonesia can't get any more Pyroblasts.
That's me. Done. Not building any more Pyro Priest.
Alright, and now Silent Storm still not really having exactly what he needs. He's holding on to that Primordial Glyph, which may imply that there is an Antonidas in the deck.
Now, Priest traditionally can't do much damage from hand. And so a reason here not to Blizzard is because you're only taking 10.
Right.
You know what's coming for the Priest. They might be a Fireball in their hand. They probably haven't got a Pyroblast. Yeah, from the repeated stealing. But you don't expect there to be too much damage in their hand, even though they've stolen some of your cards. And so eating 10 shouldn't be a big problem, especially when you've just played the barrier.
What's this? Medivh's Valet. Oh, okay, well, he has a secret. So if he wants to, Liga Game Joth can pick up Medivh's Valet and play it with the Ice Barrier. Although that 3 damage kind of seems inconsequential.
But it's damage that comes through again without any freezing happening. So they all sort of seem inconsequential. Why is that happening? The Arcane Intellect is the most tempting card, but they may feel they just don't need more cards at this point. Discover, definitely a mechanic that has held over for some time now as one of the best mechanics in Hearthstone, I think.
It is. People love it. People hate it as well in certain circumstances. I believe that
like
it
when
wasn't...
it beats them.
Well, that's true. It wasn't so popular back in the Reno Mage era, the Gabel Courier, which meant you had to play around everything. But generally, players love Discover. It's the best type of RNG because it's controlled.
Yeah, we're seeing more and more good Discover effects now to make games interesting.
Right, the Ungoro cards are really interesting as well.
I think nearly everybody agrees that Ungoro has really made Hearthstone just fantastic to play as opposed to just great to play. It's just absolutely awesome metagame.
It's because it's just so different. The cards designed, Tar Creeper being the first one we were shown,
right.
Hemet, just these interesting cards which are going to, over time, change the game in interesting and dramatic ways.
I think the Tar is a great solution to the fact that whoever's go it is has such a massive advantage. Because they just say, well, on your turn, you don't have a massive advantage with Tar. It's got one attack. Go for it.
Now, Bulgaria trying to work out how they're going to pick up that, or where they're going to find the Alexstrasza. How deep in the deck is that card? Acolyte Ping finally is the play. There's, I believe that if he just ends the turn like this, there is the possibility that he starts milling cards.
Yeah, starting to look awkward. You don't mind milling cards if you don't go to fatigue. However, that's a little bit of a fallacy because if you haven't got your Alexstrasza, you've only got 11 or 12 cards left. Even though it's random which one's gone, you do keep going to the end of your deck until you hit Alexstrasza. So the thing about getting through your deck, if Alexstrasza was your bottom card, you would go that deep.
8 cards in Bulgaria's hand. So the Acolyte would have to be hit twice, which I don't think is actually possible for Indonesia to do.
It's not usually a good trade-off to give somebody 2 cards in return for milling them for 1. It can be, but as a rule of thumb, it's not.
You can't assume that there's no Alexstrasza in the hand already. And that's that and I guess Antonidas are the only 2 that you really care about milling.
This Spellbender is going to be interesting, by the way.
Right.
Straight up protection against random Pyroblasts.
It doesn't stop Pyroblast from hitting the face, though.
It does not.
It only.
Good point.
So unless Indonesia decide to Pyroblast an Alexstrasza.
This is a good point.
It's right. it's just really strange position in the game because neither player is really doing anything. Indonesia has a lot of pressure, but doesn't really want or need to play the North Shore Cleric right now. Meanwhile, Bulgaria also not doing much.
Yeah, and wanting to, I mean, just not picking up Fireballs or Alexstrasza, and they must be down to about sort of 12 cards or something by now.
They're going to have to start freezing the boards.
Right, and that's not where they want to be.
Like, Blizzard, Loot Hoarder may be the play this turn, or maybe even Blizzard Spellbender. But I think you start with the most expensive one later on. You can use Frostnova with Antonidas if there is one in
May
there.
choose a Blood Mage if you're going to Blizzard now, just to get, it's an extra 4 points of damage you do.
Sure.
Including picking off the Valet and putting one of the, or just putting the guys in range in general, the operatives in range in general.
I like that, and you need to
they can draw another Blizzard, maybe it then kills them off. I agree with you, getting rid of the most expensive card first makes a lot of sense.
I think at this point that Silent Storm assumes that the Priest's Secret is an ice block.
Yep.
As that is the big scary one. So if Silent Storm does get the chance to attack face and find out it's the ice barrier, he may relax slightly, feel a little bit more comfortable, because having to kill a priest twice is very, very, very difficult. Especially when, as we can see, there's a Priest of the Feast, there's a Power Word Shield, there's a Holy Nova. All 3 of these cards can be played together to heal the Priest for, what's that, 10?
Yeah?
No, 6, 8.
I'm agreeing with you at that point, yeah.
8.
Choosing not to draw cards there because he would have drawn too many, so just going to draw the 1. Putting a little bit more damage to face. And just looking for that 1 turn where he can go all in and attack, but obviously there's a lot of freezing to come, and this is what Freeze Mage does so well. Freezes things, draws things, and eventually wins things.
And hey, look, do you remember that Antonidas that I've been talking about all game?
He's actually there.
There is one. Unfortunately, it's like almost impossible to play, and that is where the Spellbender is going to get very interesting, because Shadow Word Death bouncing off of Antonidas and hitting a 3-1 could just be game-breaking.
Yeah. Yeah, that's just going to give Antonidas a whole turn to sit there. See if they can set this up, though, over the next couple of turns. We'll be looking to see them set it up. So that's probably going to be the Spellbender coming down, ready to do that.
Okay, so it's such a weird game here because Silent Storm doesn't want League Game Joth to use his removal on this Thanos. Because if he does, it wastes the Spellbender.
Right.
And he really needs next turn to go Antonidas, Frostnova. Problem is, League Game Joth could easily get a second Shadow of Death from Shadow Visions. As we haven't seen the second one yet, it's definitely in the deck. As the deck's getting pretty thin, chances of it being picked up from the Shadow Visions are very high.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to know as well if Indonesia has assigned a player to keep track of which cards started in the decks and which ones have come from glyphs and from other effects. Because that's a big difference in the heat of the action. You can't always remember all of that stuff. If there's 4 of you, one of you's probably just sitting there going, that's not the secret we think it is, watch out.
Right. Yeah, and that's something that can get lost in discussion.
Yeah.
But as you said, that's why it's probably quite important for the teams to assign someone specifically to do that. League Game Joth in an awkward position. He's got all of the pressure he could possibly need on the board, but his hand is getting full as well. He doesn't want to fill up his board too much. Looks like just Twilight Drake and chill.
Yeah, always worth, and chill. Always worth having that space on your board in case you get another Medivh's Valet or any effect that comes from a battle cry that you want to use. Mistake against Freeze Mage a lot of people make is filling up their board, then wondering why they can't play their winning card that's going to win them the game.
Right.
Like their Priest of the Feast.
So, I think it has to be time. It's now or never for the Antonidas, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, they're going to draw stuff at some point.
The longer you hold on to it, the more likely it is that there are 2 Shadow Word Deaths ready to go.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you're correct. I think that you're not going to get more than one card, one fireball from it very often. This is your spot where you can trick your opponents at this point if they make a mistake, and you can just freeze. And if you get through that one extra turn, you're just going to get a whole bunch of fireball action.
The scary thing is that the Antonidas and the Spellbender are very easy to play around right now, actually, because there's a Power Word Shield in Indonesia's hand. Okay, trading in the Thanos just so that that's one less target for spells.
Okay, and the game just changed on its head because that is Alexstrasza, and this will now put 2 Frostbolts and a Medivh's Valet in hand, which is 15 damage.
Oh, so it's not even that important.
Not anymore, it's not, because Alexstrasza next turn, the block can't be procced now. Alexstrasza next turn will put the Priest onto 15. If the Priest then doesn't heal, which they can because they have things like Priest of the Feast, healing hero power, they would die. So we're now in the range where Indonesia have to at least be awake to the possibility that bad things could happen.
There's the Shadow Word Death. Indonesia not testing for it first. And this is bad. However, they have just enough mana to play Shadow Visions and also Shadow Word Death. So the game, the Antonidas doesn't necessarily live just yet.
And the important thing, if it does live, is it's 5 more damage to face after the Alexstrasza, which is so hard to heal away from. Although, again, Priest of the Feast is still sitting there.
You had to assume that they were going to get the Shadow Word Death every time here because the deck isn't much bigger. I'm surprised 3 things even showed up.
So now the question is, how do Bulgaria try and win this game through a Priest of the Feast? Look at the 1 mana spells in the hands of Indonesia. Obviously the potion can't be cast, that's another reason to have got rid of the Blood Mage a minute ago. But the Power Word Shield is still there, and so the Priest of the Feast is going to be able to do at least 3 healing, obviously the healing power, plus whatever they pick up from the next couple of draws.
Yeah, Silent Storm needs to pick up his second Ice Block if he's going to win this game.
Yep.
And it needs to be his next draw, I think.
Yeah, he has got 2 Medivh's Valets and a Frostbolt. Sorry, 2 Medivh's Valets spare, and the Frostbolt's not spare. You need that.
I guess he could play Blizzard Frostnova now, just to buy 1 extra turn, then go Alexstrasza, and then hopefully at that point you've drawn the second Ice Block. So you do damage, 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 Ice Block, damage, damage, damage.
Yeah, that's definitely a way to do it. Again, this Priest of the Feast is such a nuisance. The extra fireball would have taken care of him really nicely. And this is that position where you can't work out what to do. You end up just playing Alexstrasza because everything else looks too tricksy.
Okay, it's time. Time to end this game one way or another.
So this was in the opening hand on turn 4. We were talking about, do you play Priest of the Feast on turn 4, or do you just heal up your 2-3 and just wait.
Yeah,
They waited.
the answer was do not play it, and now we're getting a pretty clear picture as to why that was the answer. Also, not to forget, this is an ice barrier.
Oh, look at this pickup. That's not just a Shadow Word Death that kills an 8/8. This is a Shadow Word Death that heals your face for 3 more.
You know, it didn't even matter. The ice barrier is there, which would have meant if Alex Straza did hit the face, wouldn't have actually done anything the first time.
But yeah, the healing for 3 is important.
Yeah.
And now Silent Storm urgently needs to pick up the second ice block.
Unfortunately, that Pyroblast is still sitting there, not doing much.
Yeah, just priest things.
Doesn't look like it's going to do much. There's the ice block.
Can he wangle this somehow into a win?
I would say that it would be possible if not for the fact that Priest of the Feast is still sitting there with 8 health. How does Bulgaria possibly get rid of that Priest of the Feast?
And then still win the game.
And then still win the game.
It's going to be difficult. Obviously, they can ice block Fireball now and kill the Priest of the Feast, but then the block will just get insta-procced. Seems like they're in a really tough spot here.
Okay.
As we just both take a moment, because we're thinking like Silent Storm's thinking, there must be a way.
I'm just
I can't see one.
staring at this hand and feeling, the more I look at it, the worse I feel for Silent Storm.
And in his mind, he needs to freeze this board. He doesn't know about the Pyro. Although it's been there a long time, he can probably guess that it is direct damage.
That's true, actually. There probably is a mindset where you just freeze the board next turn and hope that there is no damage in hand, because priests don't always have damage in hand.
So yeah, that's what he's going to go with. He's going to go with this, freeze the board next turn, and then win the turn after, but that's not how it's going to pan out at the moment, unless we're missing something pretty important here. This Power Word Shield will just get another 3 health.
Just a free 3 health and another card. It's almost as though Lyra's on the board.
They're trying to work out a way to kill their own minion here, by the way, so that they can play the Potion of Madness.
Okay.
Can you play it? Will it steal it and kill it if you play it now?
No, I don't.
Interaction, I don't know.
No, you can't play it. It's not glowing in the hand. But Dragonfire Potion is an option here to clear the board a little bit.
And then steal it and gain it. And he's going to do it.
Well, it dies, but you still gain 3 health from this, and you can still use your hero power to heal back up again. So it's you're pretty safe. If you're Indonesia, you're feeling pretty safe right now. All 4 players.
Pretty good.
Back in confident mode. After losing Game 2 to Bulgaria, they're back on form. Primordial Glyph, obviously a method for Silent Storm to survive one more turn if he can get another ice block from it. But even then, the Priest of the Feast is still there. It's still healing.
Yeah, from Silent Storm's point of view, there's a lot to think about this game, this turn. From our point of view, we can see it's over unless the Glyph does something naughty, like fetches yet another block.
No ice block to be seen. Counterspell, Frost Nova, and Meteor were the other.
Counterspell's important, though.
Counterspell is important. Counterspell with Blizzard essentially gives Bulgaria an extra turn, but then what? Indonesia are still healing with that Priest of the Feast over and over again. Liga Game Joth, just so comfortable.
Yeah, and they know the situation here. They know there's burn in hand, but they're going to go with Blizzard Doomsayer. Oh, they're going with Blizzard Counterspell. Okay, I thought they'd go with Doomsayer just to blow stuff up and hope it's not burn, but they know it's burn.
Yeah, they've got to be fairly confident, but Liga Game Joth able to test for it with... Oh, no, he's not. He can't use Shadow Word Pain and Pyroblast, can he? Where's that Radiant Elemental when you need it?
Yes, Pyroblast. I was trying to work out, why can't you play Shadow Word Pain and Pyroblast? Because it didn't come from a glyph. That's not how 8s work.
Back in the good old days.
Yeah, back in the good old days when I was a lad. There wasn't any Hearthstone. Or
generally getting a Pyroblast counterspelled, you generally feel pretty bad about that, but I don't think Liga Game Joth is bothered.
He doesn't seem the sort of guy who gets bothered by much, especially winning games. And now, just in case it wasn't enough going on, something else is in play now, which is just fatigue.
Right.
How on earth do they ever win this game? Yep. That's how you win the game, is you make sure you kill yourself.
The Medivh Valet in Silent Storm's hand was also completely out of steam. There were no secrets left, as far as I know, in the deck. So that was never getting any value. But Liga Game Joth for Indonesia, taking game number 3.
Yeah, long couple of games there to go from 1-0 to 2-1. And you saw him exhale pretty strongly there, relieved to get that in. But yeah, cheeky look at the camera. Indonesia on the verge of their first HGG win, which will put them on a 50% record.
One of the things I wanted to point out about that game, by the way, is those Draconid operatives, they were on the board from turns 5 and 6. Right the way through to the end of the game. A problem that Freeze Mage does have, especially as most of them don't run Flamestruck nowadays, is they just can't remove things.
Right, but on the other side of that sort of priest, the stuff doesn't need to be particularly removed sometimes. They were there a long time, didn't do that much damage.
That's true.
Which made that more grindy than, say, the Silence Priest, which just hits you in the face for 24 and says, eat that.
Now, you'll be happy to know, Neil, that Best Uda EU is not bringing Priest. He is bringing Rogue, and Vertigo is bringing Warriors. So we actually have here, potentially, the two kingpins of the start of the Ungoro meta. The Quest Warrior and the Quest Rogue being the first two decks that really stood out above
I don't think it'll be Quest Warrior.
Okay.
I don't think it'll be Quest Warrior, because would you pick Warrior knowing your opponent has Rogue as an option?
Ah, that's a very good point. So it's a Pirate Warrior, which is favoured against the Quest Rogue.
Maybe they've just gone Pirates, burst you down.
So this is where the mind games really come into play, because we're talking over this key Antonidas turn, which Liga Game Joth was able to get around. He was able to get the second Shadow of Death from the Shadow Visions. Again, we were talking earlier about just how strong Shadow Visions is, but just pulling copies of cards that you've already put in your deck, pulling extra copies out of the deck, and not just that, but choosing which card you want extra copies of in each game, turns out to be a pretty good effect.
And Udi actually played Rogue last time around as well. And they were saying about they're doing their research. I can't remember which Rogue it was, unfortunately, but
well,
if you played Quest Rogue last time, I think we're going to see Indonesia just pull out the Pirates here.
I think you're onto something there. For anyone that's just joined, we mentioned earlier that Nextalk had said to us that their strategy was to counter what Bulgaria did last week, as they believed that Bulgaria would bring the same decks. And if this is correct, then it looks like this strategy may be rewarded. Don't forget, if Indonesia win this game, they win the series.
Yeah, that would be 3-1 and put them on the board on the score sheet against Bulgaria, who already 1-0. It put both teams as 1-1, which would put them both right in the middle of the table, obviously, on middle scores.
So,
how numbers work.
I mean, it feels silly saying this game is super important for the teams every single time, because it kind of goes without saying. Each game is important for both teams.
Yeah, until you get to the point where you're like 3-0 or 4-0 and you're going through to the next stage, it's going to be important for a while.
But the fact that if Bulgaria win this, they're going to be 2-0. The fact that if Indonesia lose this, they're going to be 0-2. 0-2 is not a good position to be in. 2-0, very good position to be in.
Very much so, yeah. 2-0, and you're getting to the point now where you're starting to think you can actually qualify on 2 and 3.
Yeah.
You know, you don't want to go 2 and 3. There's chances are that you might not make it, but when you get that second win, you're in the hunt right the way till the end. Whereas when you're 0-2, suddenly you've got to win at least 2 of your next 3, and you're already starting to panic a little bit.
And Indonesia just trying really hard to get their first win on the board before they get their second loss.
Yeah, and something that's common amongst all the teams, but again, particularly the APAC teams, is they all believe that they are being put down by the other 3 servers. Like, we are the server that everyone thinks is probably the weakest. We want to prove that we're not. And again, the whole of Asia is pulled together and really working with the majors, with the whole system they have set up there to just make APAC the region that's catching up. And I think we're seeing here that Indonesia are very well prepared today.
Right. We just saw for a moment there Best Uda EU and Vertigo's cams up. Unfortunately, it doesn't look like any of the guys on these teams have managed to group up together and communicate with one another. But they will, of course, as we keep saying, they will be communicating with each other via headsets online. They will be playing these games together.
So Vertigo's comment before this was that he's looking forward to playing against the likes of Ostkaka, Orange, Liamain and Omega Zero in this group.
Okay.
Not mention the Bulgarian players. That's a bit of a put down, I think.
It is a bit of a put down. At the same time, I guess you can't, if you're in that position, you don't list everyone. You just list the guys that
he listed one from each of the other teams.
Oh.
RIP, yeah.
Yeah, rip. So if Bulgaria win this, which is still possible, they're only 1 and 2, they can come back, then that would be a little bit.
I don't know if he was deliberate. He was trying to make the point he's looking forward to playing all these world-class players, but he couldn't think of anyone from Bulgaria who he counts.
So Bulgaria, I don't know if Bulgaria have heard this, but
I doubt it. They have now.
If they do,
Sorry,
they might have a bit of a bee in their bonnet. Bulgaria are going to want to win this even more. It's even more important, not for the money, not for the sake of the competition, but for pride.
For pride and to get your own back on Vertigo, who for some reason didn't list any of your players, despite 3 of them having played in HCT prelims.
Of course, national pride is a huge part of this competition. Right. It's something that we're feeling from the UK, obviously.
Are we in this competition?
The UK is.
Oh, okay.
We'll be seeing them tomorrow. Along with Raven and Soto.
I don't remember them playing yet, that's all.
I do.
Oh, I was wrong. It's not Pirates. Not Pirates, it is actually just the Quest Warrior, which makes this a lot more difficult.
Right, so that is unexpected, given everything that we've talked about so far. I guess Indonesia were hoping not to end up with this matchup, with their warrior player matched up against Bulgaria's rogue player.
Right.
Though, as you say, it is surprising that Indonesia did cue the warrior into it, knowing that the rogue was a possibility.
I mean, their warlock's the other possibility, which would be Zoo, which would at least have some early game. I mean, Zoo's a bit awkward right now, but Zoo would at least be able to put some pressure on. So it'd be interesting to see what they've got in mind for this matchup.
A card that is interesting in this matchup on the warrior side is actually Dirty Rat. One of the more interesting controversial cards that came out with Mean Streets of the Gadgetzan, but Dirty Rat, if played correctly against a Quest Rogue, can just disrupt what they're doing. Say a Swashbuckler gets played twice or 3 times, and then Dirty Rat pulls it out and the warrior kills it. That just completely puts a stop to the quest completion and almost resets it.
Yeah, and I'm keeping the quest here, by the way, as well, Indonesia. So, interesting. A lot of people don't keep the quest in the matchups where they need a rapid defense, but maybe feeling that's the only way they can win. Who knows? But personally, I wouldn't keep it, I don't think.
Yeah, from what I've heard, players generally are throwing it away against Rogue. But I believe that Indonesia will have their reasons for keeping it. Best EU's hand, by the way, not looking too great. Going with this newer build that runs Wisps, I expect we'll see a Vanish in there. That's been around for some time. Patches, maybe you're not as upset nowadays as you used to be with Patches in your opening hand, but you'd still prefer to have that much later after the quest is complete.
So the Wisp has been brought in for Swashbuckler, I believe. People are finding the extra card to be kind of useless. Going all in on getting off your caverns rather than actually, hey, here's an extra card which might be nice. Which makes a lot of sense when you first build the deck, and then you realise, actually, I don't really care if I have an extra thing. I don't need extra things. I need 5/5s.
A second Dirty Rat. So I'm very interested to see how Vertigo decides to play this. He could just go ahead and play one now and establish board dominance, or he could hold on to them and try and disrupt the quest, as I mentioned before. It looks like it's difficult to hold on to them now because there's not much else you can do, and because you've got a second one, you probably feel somewhat okay to use it.
Yeah, and he could have played them a little bit later if he wanted, but this could hit an important card, and you do have to kill the rogue at some point because it's horribly resistant when they start vanishing their own novice engineers and picking up more 5/5 charge minions.
Right.
Even if you withstand the opening onslaught where you get favoured, you can still lose if things go against you.
Pulling out the Southie deckhand as well kind of negates any possibility of best EU finishing the quest with the deckhand. Yeah, it's possible to bounce it, but having to bounce it one extra time really does put a lot of strain on that quest getting complete. The chance of him drawing his second one, also somewhat slim. The deck is 30 cards big, there's only one more. So I imagine he's going to forget about any chance of completing the quest with this and aim to do it with something else, maybe the Glacial Shard.
Yeah, he could play the Brewmaster, but it doesn't seem to achieve a whole lot. He'll use that for something like the Wisp. He may just wait to see what his extra pickup is.
I'm wondering if he may consider playing Glacial Shard and then bouncing that back with the Brewmaster. It plays around Ravaging Gore because you have a 3/2 on the board. It stops the Dirty Rat from doing anything. Nope, he's just going to dagger in, dagger up, and just play it a little bit slow. That Dirty Rat, pretty annoying for best EU.
Yeah, and this is one of the things when you're playing against this Cavern Rogue deck that is so soul-destroying. It's like, oh, they did nothing, they've got a bad draw, and then 3 turns later when they picked up a Mimic Pod and they've drawn 2 of the same thing and just complete the quest, you're like, oh, what do you mean I still lose anyway?
I have to admit, I didn't expect the second Dirty Rat to come down this quickly. Obviously, removing resources from Bulgaria's hand seems pretty good. Getting rid of a bounce effect seems pretty good. And actually, this Quest Rogue's hand is very lacking right now.
Yeah, and the Warrior's hand actually got about the most aggressive minions it can get, especially with the interaction between Ravaging Ghoul and Bloodhoof Brave. We'll be able to turn the Bloodhoof Brave into a minion that actually hits things. So I wouldn't be surprised to see him coin out the Bloodhoof Brave. Sorry, just play it next turn. He doesn't need to coin it out. Just play the Bloodhoof Brave next turn and then just Ravaging Ghoul and start hitting for 5.
That does seem very strong. Preparation getting picked up from Best Ida EU, which is a great card for that deck, but not really until the quest is complete or until you've picked up at least a Vanish. At the moment, the preparation does nothing.
It might be turned to... Oh, you don't want to play any of these minions. They all have 1 health. You know it's full of whirlwind effects against you.
It's about as bad a position you can be in this matchup for the Rogue.
Yeah.
As bad a position as you can be in.
Again, it will just change with the Mimic Pod.
Yeah.
That's the card looking for right now.
Prep Mimic Pod into another Mimic Pod.
And you don't even want to start like punching damage into the Dirty Rat, despite the fact it's good to get it down to 5 health. Of course, it dies to 5 5s. Because you're on... It's not a good clock, but you're on a clock of some sort. If you just take an extra 2 damage, that's really helping the Warriors' cause.
Dirty Rat is annoying enough once the quest is complete because it takes 2 hits, or a hit from the weapon and a hit from a minion, but it's very dirty against a board of minions that only have 1 or 2 attack and 1 health.
Yeah, it's ratted quite a lot of the stuff in there. Here we go, this Bloodhoof Brave plays the one he drew, which I'm not a fan of. I prefer to play the one that's already in his hand in case your opponents have put you on a tell. Okay. It doesn't make a huge difference. And then interesting to see next turn whether he plays the Hatchling as well to keep the big stuff coming, or whether he just starts the Ravaging Ghoul and hit you in the face. He'll probably play the Hatchling, actually. It just looks quite nice now we look at it.
I guess holding on to the cards that have been into the hand for longer maybe is feigning that he's got a Brawl in there somewhere if he's holding on to these cards on the far left.
Look at this awful pickup for Bulgaria. And, okay, so Indonesia, they can play the Hatchling next turn. On turn 6, they can play Bloodhoof, Coin, Ravaging Ghoul. And their attack strength on board will be something like 14 or 15, or I can't do math at this time of morning.
Which deck is the aggro deck here? I mean, I know that the Quest Rogue isn't even really an aggro deck.
Right, so the Warrior has to turn itself into an aggro deck, and that's what these Dirty Rats have been about. That's how Vertigo decided to use his Dirty Rats, as opposed to the traditional way of waiting for turn 3 or 4 and maybe trying to put a key piece. He's just going, you know what, I'm going to kill you by putting stuff down.
It's surprising to me that Vertigo managed to get such a strong start whilst also holding onto the quest. That is the reason that players throw away the quest in this matchup, because they want to get a better start like this, because the Ragnaros hero power isn't actually the most important thing. But Vertigo managed to hold on to it and still got the start that he needed.
And all of these minions have 6 health, which is kind of important even if the rogue quest gets completed.
Yeah, it's almost like a hard counter, but still loses to the quest.
I want him to just put as much attack on board as possible. You don't need the armor. If the rogue starts hitting you, it starts hitting you.
Yeah.
You can sometimes buy 1 extra turn by having the exact +1 amount of armor. But in general, just put the attack on the board and make the rogue do something.
In my experience when playing against Quest Rogue, they always have more charges and more bounce effects. Right. You can never have too much armor. It doesn't matter how much you gain, you're always going to just die at the certain point. So I agree with Daihorn Hatchling. More attack is great here.
Just to point out that there is a downside of the turn I had next turn lined up, which is the Bloodhoof Brave into Ravaging Ghoul, is that Vanish is painful.
Right.
But I think you do it anyway. But it's easy for us. We can see there's no Vanish. Indonesia must be expecting Bulgaria to have a handful of Vanishes because they've done nothing for 4 turns.
This is about as poor a start as you can get. I know I keep saying it, but every single draw just feels disappointing. Then again, I don't know what I'm expecting. Most of the cards in the deck are cards like Firefly. I guess even a card like Novice Engineer would be so good right now compared to this. Firefly, yeah, you can put it down, you can get the Elemental into your hand, but it doesn't do anything still.
Yeah, maybe this is the way to do double Dirty Rat. 1 Dirty Rat you have to look after, but 2 you can just go, you know what, I'm just going to strip your hand of stuff. And hitting that Brewmaster make a big difference, because that's a minion that could at least have done something in this combo.
Right.
But yeah. And now it's time for Indonesia to decide. I feel that they will expect a Vanish, so we might not see the Bloodhoof play. On the other side of it, there isn't much downside on playing the Bloodhoof play. There's not much else you can do anyway. You can use the coin to play Bloodhoof and Ravaging Ghoul again next turn. So, yeah, you can use the coin now and then next turn's turn 7, so you can do it again. So even though they'd expect the Vanish, maybe there's just not that much downside to it.
Interestingly, in this game, it's not something you see often in this matchup, but in the event where Vertigo does complete the quest, he now actually has the Brawl. So if both players complete the quest and Bulgaria starts to build up a huge board, there's the chance that Vertigo just plays, okay, Sulfuras, Brawl, Hero Power, I win.
He's slamming his own Bloodhoof Brave.
I like it.
Which is probably a better solution than the one I came up with. This way he's drawing more cards and still getting the bonus. And then, yeah, he doesn't have to play the Ravaging Ghoul and injure his other 6 health minions. So having the magic 6 health. And he's still representing lethal.
Yeah. Also, if this board does get vanished, next turn, Vertigo can actually go Bloodhoof Brave, coin, Bloodhoof Brave. Oh, look, the quest's complete, as we're now on 5 out of 7.
Or just play another Dirty Rat. It seems to be working for him so far.
Right.
And this just looks like it's over, by the way.
Not what we expected. Not what either of us expected.
The best thing Bulgaria can do is freeze 2 minions. They can freeze the 5/4 and the 3/6. It would keep them alive if they do that, but I don't know how they ever win the game. They can play their shard and then bounce it and then play it again. And it might not be a case of they can, it may be a case of they have to.
So, shard the 5/4, oh, sorry, freeze the 5/4, bounce the freeze the 3/6, I guess, or do you freeze the 2/6 because it can get enraged?
Yeah, either or, depending on how they see it, I feel here. It's so hard to know how they will see it based on the order things were played, but they'll know there's a lot of whirlwind effects. They probably freeze the 2/6.
Or do they not freeze anything else and try and hold on to that Glacial Shard? If they do, they just lose.
Do they 3, 4, 5, 10? They'll be on 2.
All right.
Which technically isn't losing, but...
Ravaging Ghoul plus Bloodhoof Brave, that's gains 5 attack, doesn't it?
It goes 2/5, right? It gains 3.
All right, okay. I thought it gained 5 for some reason. So yeah, you're right. It's close, but not quite there yet.
The only reason they don't want to Ravaging Ghoul here is because everything will be on 5 health. So we might see a shield block here to see if they can pick up a War Axe. Because that would just be lethal.
It would?
I think they have 8 mana available.
Yep,
shield block War Axe is 2, yeah. So that seems like a good call to me. That's like a 10% chance of just winning immediately.
We haven't seen a Fiery War Axe yet.
No.
So you're right. Incredibly likely. I don't think there's anything else that wins the game right now, but then is there any reason to not play the shield block first? I don't think there is.
Yeah, the only reason would be if you're playing your Stonehill Defender to try and complete the quest a bit quicker. Which is obviously another call. Let's see what he gets.
Another Stonehill Defender. Okay.
Sometimes the world is just telling you something. But he's going to ignore the world. He's going to hit some more face, because now the quest can complete for lethal to your face. War Axe can be lethal. Yeah, he's less bothered about this. I'd kill a minion. Doesn't matter.
I really like this play. Rogues don't run any healing. That as we remind you back home all the time from this casting desk. Rogues don't run healing. They do run this taunt, Balefin Tidehunter, which is a 5/5. Can save you for a little bit. However, the game is now over. Indonesia take the series.
Vertigo says, that's okay. We agree, Vertigo. Well done, Indonesia. APAC on the board with a win. They go to 1-1. Bulgaria drop down to 1-1. Vertigo is one happy bunny. And I'm completely unbiased.
Very impressive performance from Vertigo there. Winning a extremely unfavored matchup, I think you can argue. On the flip side, the other hand wasn't that good. The rogue hand was left a lot to be desired.
Yeah, one bounce minion which got pulled out by the Dirty Rat. As you see there, the recap of the day's events. The day's only just beginning, guys. We've got 4 more matches for you yet. But the recap of this event, and it's 3-1 to Indonesia there. The only loss coming with that Paladin against the Warrior, which was an almighty struggle for Bulgaria to get through, but they did take that one game.
Yeah, I just can't get over what happened with that last game there. Like the thought processes we went through. It must be Pirate Warrior. They're trying to counter the rogue. It must. What? It's a quest warrior. Oh, this isn't good for Indonesia. And then, he kept the quest. That's not great either. Oh, he wins.
Easy game, easy research, and there we see they're up to number 3 in the table. Bulgaria are 4th.
Look at that tiebreaker. Look how close that is.
Yeah, they're the slots that they're going to be fighting over, because the top 3 will go through. Obviously, the other teams still got to play, so this will be shaken up a lot in the next 2 or 3 days.
Nice neutral finish, though. Both teams end up with 1 win, 1 loss. So they can't feel too bad about it. At least Bulgaria won game number 1. Both have a great chance in this competition still.
Dan, professional as ever, just being the neutral guy.
Very early days yet.
Are you going to start getting biased tomorrow?
Yes.
With your Romanian heritage?
Extremely. Sure, we'll go that way. We'll go that way. But yeah, there is, of course, an ace match at the end, which we'll talk about later when that happens. But now we're going to cut to a break. We'll be back very soon.
We're almost there. Quiet down, everyone. This is not like any of our previous expeditions. This will be far more ambitious. We're stepping into a land of primordial wonder. Infused with astonishing elemental energies. The plant life here holds very unusual properties. So don't touch anything. And while you may be excited to see the local fauna, you might want to make sure they don't see you. Because their powers of adaptation are devastating. Make no mistake, we will be tested at every turn. But if we stay on our guard, we might just survive. Now then, are you ready? Then let's journey into Ongoro Crater.